Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Jujutsu Kaisen, the beginning of the Mangekyō Sharingan. Chapter 51. The next day, a few people rode a dragon boat and went to Okinawa to enjoy the beautiful scenery and eat the specialties here. In the evening, several people came to the place where they lived. At this time, Shayuji, Gojo Satoru and Mingzi were chatting in the room. Kuroi and Tanuchi Riko were sleeping next door. Satoru, you should take a rest. I transferred and sealed Kamui and Amaterasu in Tianai, and everything will be fine, Ming said calmly. You should go and rest. You have consumed more eye power this time than Shoko last time, and your current condition is very bad. Gojo Satoru said calmly. For me, who has the power of the eternal kaleidoscope, there is no problem. Ming said lightly, but the actual situation is different from what Ming said. The transfer seal transfers the ability to others, whether it is eternal or ordinary kaleidoscope. Ming's burden is too great, maybe it's because of the rules of this world. And as an ordinary person, Riko Tanuchi has to be more careful when storing her eye power. Although she doesn't know why Riko Tanuchi can see the cursed spirit, except for the weird curse power on her body, Riko Tanuchi is an ordinary person overall. This caused Ming to have to be careful when translating, and he also had to transcribe some of the eye skills for Kuroi, so Ming's current condition is not very good. Woo, there's one thing about Ming. I don't think that child wants to assimilate that much. If she refuses to assimilate, Shayuji said with a relaxed look. Then don't assimilate, Gojo Satoru replied decisively before Shayuji finished speaking. Oh, is it for personal reasons? Satoru, still smiling. That child is pretty good, but I really don't want her to die. Gojo Satoru did not deny it. Ha ha ha, since my dear friends have said so, then don't assimilate. Let's talk to that guy Tianyuan tomorrow, Ming said with a faint smile. Is this really good? After all, it is possible to start a war with Master Tianyuan, and maybe even with the entire Jujutsu world. Shayuji said playfully. Why are you scared, Jay? Gojo Satoru said disgustedly. How is that possible, Ming? Shayuji didn't care. We are the strongest. It seems very interesting to be the enemy of the entire Jujutsu world. Ming replied calmly. Yes, that's it, the two agreed. There was no flinching on the faces of the three of them. As the strongest, they still showed no fear even when facing the Jujutsu world. The third day, 3 p.m. Within the boundaries of Jujutsu High School, the three finally relaxed their tense nerves a little. Thank you for your hard work, Shayuji said, looking at Riko Tanuchi and Kuroi, who looked tired at this time. This will put you at ease, Tanuchi Riko said with a tired look. Yeah, Kuroi also smiled. Satoru, thank you for your hard work. Shayuji looked at Gojo Satoru who was in a daze and said. After all, Gojo Satoru has been turning on the spell in the past few days and observing the surroundings with 6 eyes. It is the hardest among the three. Hey, I don't want to be the little ghost's nanny next time, Gojo Satoru said impatiently. When Riko Tenchi was about to refute Gojo Satoru. Be careful, Mei suddenly exclaimed, but it was too late. Gojo Satoru's body was instantly penetrated. It's impossible that this is the inside of the high-speed barrier. Shayuji looked at the impaled Gojo Satoru with surprise in his eyes. You were so careless, Ming cursed in his mind, and then a wave of anger invaded his mind. The eyes instantly switched to the Mangekyō Sharingan, and Susanoo appeared. The impaled Gojo Satoru instantly strengthened his body with magic power, and then looked at the strong man behind him. Have you and I met before somewhere? Gojo Satoru said calmly. Don't worry, I'm just like you, not good at remembering men's names, the figure said. And that figure fell into memories. He had come to see this legendary kid out of curiosity before. At that time, he was standing behind Gojo Satoru Road when he was a child. He thought he had no magic power, but he was noticed for the first time, and he was still imp. So he didn't dare to be careless with Gojo Satoru. He wanted to weaken Gojo Satoru's energy and make him dull, so as to sneak attack on Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru heard the man talking and took action instantly. Fushiguro was knocked away, and Shayuji instantly summoned the cursed spirit and swallowed the man into his belly. Satoru. Shayuji rushed towards Gojo Satoru. I'm fine. Although the spell was not activated, it did not damage the internal organs. Then I used the magic power to strengthen it and prevented that person from harming other parts. Leave me alone to protect the inner world. Gojo Satoru stopped Sha Yuji. Jia, take Tenai and the others to Master Tianyuan first. And Ming, leave this man to me. The author of Gojo Satoru stretched. Mei ignored Gojo Satoru and turned on Susanoo to look in the direction of Cursed Spirit. He knew that the man was not dead. At this time, the man took a knife and opened a hole in Cursed Spirit's stomach and came out. Ming, I said, leave her to me. I remember the revenge of one stone. First, protect Tiane with Jia. Have you forgotten what we said yesterday? Facing Master Tianyuan, even Jia will not be that easy. Right, Gojo Satoru said seriously. Ming's frowned and clenched his fists. There was struggle in his eyes. After all, now Gojo Satoru is not only injured, but also in poor condition. Ming, let's go, trust Wu, Sha Yuji urged. I know, Satoru, hurry up and deal with him, and then we meet up. If we solve the problem, and you're not done yet, I will take over the battlefield. Ming glanced at Gojo Satoru, and then ran away with Sha Yuji and the two girls. Shang Tianyuan. Who do you think you are talking to? Gojo Satoru walked towards Fushiki and slowly took off his glasses. Then he looked at the knife Fushiguro Shire carried on his shoulder and knew that it was not the knife that stabbed him. Then the two began to talk. After some conversation, Gojo Satoru knew that the man in front of him was the one who posted the reward, and he did not know the details of this man at all, nor the cursed spirit on his shoulder who appeared at some point. After talking for a while, Gojo Satoru took the lead in attacking, but Fushiguro moved very quickly and disappeared in an instant. Gojo Satoru also had to marvel at this man's speed. It's so fast, but in terms of physical speed, it's faster than Ming. It's not just fast, it's weird from the beginning. Even Ming and I didn't find him right away. Is it the body of heavenly restriction? Gojo Satoru quickly analyzed in his mind with information. Then Fushiguro Shire's body flashed and suddenly disappeared from the spot. The forest of forgetfulness began to move so fast that ordinary people couldn't even see it. This is followed by multiple moves and a sudden rush towards Gojo Satoru. Although the dynamic potential of Gojo Satoru's six eyes is not as good as Mei's Sharingan, it is also extremely abnormal. He instantly discerned Fushiguro's figure, and fired a "ow" shot, causing Fushiguro to fly backwards and hit the wall. Seeing Fushiguro being knocked away, before Gojo Satoru could say anything, Shiji stood up from the ground and became faster, even Gojo Satoru was not aware of it. The technique was reversed and the power was maximized. The trees and houses around Aang all converged towards the sky above Gojo Satoru Road. After a while, all the surrounding obstacles were cleared. But before Gojo Satoru could be happy, many low-level cursed spirits appeared in the dark. Although they could not harm Gojo Satoru, these low-level cursed spirits were too large and affected Gojo Satoru's sight. Gojo Satoru intends to use Ao here, and the cursed spirit around him will be destroyed, which makes him feel bad. Because he felt that they must be chasing the underworld. But in Fushiguro's opinion, if Gojo Satoru is not dealt with, she will definitely not be able to hurt Riko Tanuchi. So Fushikiji wanted to kill Gojo Satoru, and then ducked to the blind spot of Gojo Satoru Road, which was behind Gojo Satoru. When Fushikiji appeared, Gojo Satoru also noticed it, but it was too late. I saw Fushiguro coming behind Gojo Satoru with a weird short knife, and then stabbed Gojo Satoru. Surprisingly, Gojo Satoru's infinity was broken through, and he instantly penetrated Gojo Satoru to his neck. Fushikiji didn't talk nonsense, and then slashed at Gojo Satoru's body. The strange thing was that Gojo Satoru didn't have any intention to fight back, and was finally penetrated by Fushikiji through the forehead. Gojo Satoru fell to the ground. And this infinite breaking cursed tool is the Tien Ni Ai, and its effect is to forcefully cancel the activated spell. On the other side, Ming and Sha Yuji had already taken the two women to an underground place in the elevator. When he got out of the elevator, Kuroi lowered his head to Tanuchi Riko and said, "Ms. Riko, I sent you here." Then he bowed. And Tanuchi Riko's eyes instantly turned red. Hug Kuroi. What's wrong, Ming? Sha Yuji looked at Ming who was distracted. Nothing. Something strange happened. The technique stored in Wu's eyes was triggered. Ming said calmly. Did Wu lose? Sha Yuji was a little surprised. I don't know. The reason why I say it's weird is because Wu was forcibly suppressed during the triggering period. I don't know what Wu is doing. Isn't that guy trying to show off? Ming frowned. Let's take Riko there first, and then go to Wu's place after the matter is settled, Xiaoyuji suggested. Ming nodded. Then the three of them continued walking and came to a big tree. Is this here? Tanuchi Riko looked ahead. Lord Tianyuan, it's inside. This is also the foundation of the domestic barrier. In the main hall of Burial Star Palace, go down the stairs, go through the door, and walk to the root of the big tree. With the high school. Shut up, Jia, hurry up, you're too annoying, Ming said a little upset. I know, we can't enter the barrier here. Only you can enter, so nothing can disturb you while you are assimilating. Master Tianyuan will protect you until the assimilation is completed, Xiaoyuji said. Riko was very depressed. He is not as lively as before, and after all, he is just a girl. Or you can choose to go back the way you came and go home with Miss Heijing. Xiaoyuji said calmly. Ha, ha, Riko Tanuchi looked at Xiaoyuji in surprise. When our mentor assigned me another mission, he called this assimilation erasure. This meant that he had a sense of guilt. Our mentor's mind was filled with. That's enough. Let me tell you. Can you please tell me the important point? The three of us have discussed it. If you are not willing to assimilate this time, then there is no need to assimilate. The three of us will protect you. The future, Ming said calmly. Xiaoyuji looked at Ming with a resentful look. Riko Tanuchi gritted her teeth and said, I have been since I was born. Let's get to the point, go or not. Ming's mood is getting worse and worse. He doesn't know why he always feels that something happened to Gojo Satoru. When Riko heard Ming's words, her emotion disappeared instantly, and then she said with a firm smile, I want to be with everyone, I don't want to assimilate. Xiaoyuji also had a gentle smile on his face at this time, his eyes flashed with distress, and then he stretched out his hand and said softly, let's go back. And at this moment, a gunshot rang out, and then Riko Tanuchi's hand reaching for Xiaoyuji passed through Xiaoyuji's body, while Riko Tanuchi's eyes widened. Xiaoyuji was also surprised. Riko. Xiaoyuji stood in front of Riko, and the man who thought he shot Riko Tanuchi thought Riko Tanuchi was dead and walked out calmly. Is it you? Where's Wu? Ming's face was cold and his tone was murderous. Who knows, he's probably dead, Fu Heixir said with an indifferent expression. Then you should die too. The eternal kaleidoscope appeared in the eyes of the underworld, and a black flame appeared out of thin air. Fu Heixir, who had abnormal senses, had his hair standing on end, and then the figure disappeared from the place. Dodge the blow. Then he looked at the black flames in front of him and felt the terrifying heat even though he was far away. I really underestimated you, Uchiha Mei, it seems that your eye ability is not only illusion. Fushiguro lowered his head and said. The information he knew specifically stated that he could not look at Uchiha at all, no. Yes, are these your last words? Ming's tone was as cold as if the temperature of the surrounding space had dropped. Ming, you protect first, Riko, I'll take care of this guy, Xiaoyuji said. Ming frowned, but still nodded. He had to put Tenai Riko in the Kamui space. Xiaoyuji's face turned cold, and the cursed spirit appeared instantly. Ming came to Riko, and at this moment, Fushiguro looked at Riko Tanuchi who had not yet fallen to the ground. He was a little surprised and instinctively raised his head to look at Riko who was intact. What's going on? No wonder there was no resistance when the bullet passed through. It's not good. Just as Fu Heixir moved his gaze, he happened to meet Ming's eyes. Genjutsu, Tsukuyomi, cursed spirit, go. Ming then grabbed Tanuchi Riko's hand, left the place, and ran outside. The barrier here was the foundation, so Ming didn't dare to use Kamui for fear of destroying the barrier, so he pulled Riko and ran out. Puff, body. The injured Fu Heixir vomited a mouthful of blood. It's really scary, that Uchiha Mei. Fortunately, I was well prepared before coming, but I was still pulled into the illusion, but it also offset most of the attack, otherwise it would be really bad. At this time, the crystal pendant around Fu Heixir's neck was completely shattered. Ming took Riko out to solve the problem. After he came out, he felt that Gojo Satoru was not dead. Although the power of the spell was very weak, he was not dead, and the power of the spell was recovering. Ming breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that the murderous intent in his heart still didn't retreat, he didn't expect that person to be so powerful that he could hurt Gojo Satoru like this. He knew that Shayuji was definitely no match. And on the way out, he found Kuroi, who had been knocked unconscious. By this time Kuroi had woken up. Tian-ne, Miss Heijing, now I want to take you to a safe place, and I want to go back to help Jia. Ming said seriously. Okay, the two of them knew that after death, they couldn't talk nonsense. Ming looked at the eyes of the two people and transformed into the eternal Mangekyō Sharingan. Divine power. The two figures disappeared in front of Ming, who quickly returned to the barrier. As for the transferred Tenai Riko, she was a little scared when she looked at the space she was in. She was surrounded by rocks of various sizes, and there was a huge blood-red moon in the sky. It felt like they were in hell. Where is this? Riko Tanuchi asked curiously. Kuroi shook his head. And then a voice came, this is the space of that man named Uchiha Mei. Who is it? The two people asked in horror. Then he looked towards the source of the sound, where an old figure was tied to a cross. And there was a nine-tailed fox next to him looking at the old man in front of him. The old man looked at the two people in front of him, and then explained that this man was the old man who assassinated Riko Tanuchi. He was going crazy while imprisoned here. There is no scary person with a quiet voice here, and there is a first-level cursed spirit looking at him. He was also very happy to have people come this time. On the other side, Ming quickly returned to the inside of the barrier. At this time, Shayuji was covered in wounds, and even his rainbow dragon had been killed, and the slit girl was also dying. The realm was also shattered. Shayuji suddenly pointed his hand at the cursed spirit on Fuhei Shire. Although this cursed spirit is special, it is not very strong. This level does not require a subduing ceremony at all. Fuhei Shire naturally noticed this and instantly waved his Tianamu, which not only released the cursed spirit technique, but also allowed him to chop Shayuji. The magician can't die after taking these swords. If you were a cursed spirit user, I would kill you, but the difference is the cursed spirit magic. I don't know what will happen to your cursed spirit after you die. Now I don't want to get into trouble. After all, the mission has not been completed yet, but I really wish I couldn't complete it. Fuhei Shire slowly walked towards Shayuji, who was lying in the blood. You guys are basically favored by your parents, but you who inherited these favors still lost to me, a monkey, who can't even do jujutsu. If you want to live, remember this. Fushigi Shiji kicked Shayuji in the face. If you don't want to die, please take your feet off me. A cold and frightening voice sounded, with a tone full of anger. Oh, are you back? Are you just a fool? How dare you say that? Gojo Satoru even lost to Gojo Satoru. Fushigi said calmly, obviously he was a little angry this time. Fuhei Shire's figure was in Shandong, and he quickly approached Ming. He reached Ming's side and slashed out with his sword. The light of the sword penetrated Ming's figure. Fuhei Shire was not surprised. The figure disappeared instantly and distanced itself. Sure enough, this guy's ability is more troublesome than Gojo Satoru, but he can't attack either. Fushigi Shiji analyzed. Ming's figure flashed quickly, and the two began to fight each other. The Sharingan's powerful insight and divine power allowed Ming to handle it even without Fushigiro's speed. However, with Fushigiro's strength, Ming was a little unable to withstand it. This guy is not only fast and powerful, but also has a wide variety of weapons. Mei used his divine power to distance himself, but was still pestered by Fushiguro. Then Mei attached Amaterasu around his body. Sensing the crisis, Fushiguro was instantly pushed back. Mei took the opportunity to summon Susanoo. Then the giant Susanoo began to attack Fushiguro. It's actually possible to achieve this level. Sure enough, the information is right. Has this guy been fishing? Fuhei Shire said, looking at the giant of more than 40 meters. He did not hesitate to chop the sword that cut off the rainbow dragon towards Susanoo, but Susanoo had no effect at all. After failing to kill him in one hit, Fuhei Shire disappeared instantly. He didn't want to be hit by this big guy. A lightsaber appeared in the giant's hand, and he looked at Fushigi Shire, but Fushigi Shire was too fast, and even with the prediction of Sharingan, he could not hit the opponent. Ming was a little anxious, looking at Shayuji lying there and Gojo Satoru outside who had almost exhausted his spell power. His remaining sanity was completely taken over by anger. Go to hell, you, said Susanoo, who had 4 hands and concentrated spell power in his hands. Infinite 8 editions of Magatama, he said, and threw numerous Magatama towards Fushiguro with 4 hands. Hey, this guy is exaggerating, doesn't he have any scruples? This is the center of the neon barrier, this madman. Even Fushiguro, the tyrant of heaven and earth, had a cold sweat on his face. Looking at the intensive attacks in front of him, he did not panic at all. This guy has an unreasonable amount of magic power. The magic power emitted by each attack is so strong that it can almost catch up with the total magic power of a first-level magician. Fushiguro said, and then his figure flashed quickly. Because of the attack, it's too dense and very fast until you can get this cursed tool place. This monster, Fushiguro said. The figure flashed continuously to avoid the attacks in front of him, but the explosion caused by each attack in this small boundary had already injured Fushiguro. Fushiguro knew that this was going to happen, and his figure flashed to Shaoyuji's side. Sure enough, Mingya no longer fired Magatama around Shaoyuji. Ming controlled the power of the explosion early on because he was afraid of injuring Shaoyuji a second time. What? I don't dare to attack anymore. Fushiguro looked proud, but he secretly thought in his heart, although this giant has strong defense, its movements are very slow. If it is outside, there is still a chance to break through the defense. Insect, get away from Jia. Ming's cold voice sounded. Oh, you guys are really softer than I thought, Fushiguro mocked. Don't anger me again, or I will kill you now. Ming looked at Fushiguro with cold eyes. Oh, I want to take a look. Fushiguro slowly left Shaoyuji's side, but from this distance, it was obvious that Shaoyuji would be hurt by the residual power of 8th edition Magatama. The blood-red Mangekyō Sharingan in the dark eyes of Seeking Death can emit a strong red light, and the power of the curse suddenly increases. I saw a piece of armor appearing on the giant's body, and his figure became taller. After a while, a giant more than 100 meters tall rose from the ground. A giant wearing Karatengu armor appeared in front of Shi'er. Then he pulled out his long knife. The huge feeling of oppression made the hairs on Shi'er's hair stand on end. That's not good. Is this his true appearance? Fushiguro said with a look of retreat in his eyes. Then the figure came to Shaoyuji's side. Although Fushiguro disdained and threatened the hostages, he had to do it this time. Let me go, I won't move him. Fushigi finally showed a serious expression. Unlike Gojo Satoru's infinite will be restrained by his heavenly eyes, but he can't break the giant in front of him, and with such a huge size, even he cannot escape 100%. Okay, Mingya didn't talk nonsense. As soon as Ming finished speaking, Fushiguro put Shaoyuji down. He was very confident that Ming would not dare to do anything, because the world was like this, there were restraints, and although Fushiguro could not defeat him outside, he was confident that he could escape successfully. Without any nonsense, Fushiguro walked outside the barrier. And Ming glanced coldly at Fushiguro, cancelled Susanoo, and came to Shaoyuji's side. Jia, are you okay? Shaoyuji slowly opened his eyes at this time. The magic power in his body was exhausted and he was seriously injured, so he was very weak. It's okay, Shaoyuji said with a smile on his face. Pain and remorse flashed in all eyes. Because he knew that in order to protect her, he had to let Satoru's killer go. It's okay, Satoru is fine. His spell power has not dissipated, so he must have been seriously injured. Let's solve the matter in Tenai, Mingyi said with a smile. The two of them walked towards the building in front of them. At this moment, a figure appeared. The man wore a suit and walked towards Ming and Shaoyuji. Master Ming, Mr. Xiaoyu, the man said respectfully. Although he was inside just now, he saw everything outside. That huge part was like a god. How could he dare not respect it? Take me to see Tianyuan, Ming said calmly. The man was a little embarrassed. Don't embarrass others, Ming. Shaoyuji was supported by Ming. He looked very weak. You go back and tell Tianyuan that I will not give him the astral plasma body. Let him evolve automatically. If the evolution fails, then I will kill him, Ming said with a calm face, and then let Shaoyuji go. Rest somewhere. Ming, on the other hand, sat on the ground and waited. When the man heard Ming's words, he broke out in a cold sweat and looked a little embarrassed. Why don't you go? Ming said coldly. When he heard this, the man became nervous and hesitantly said, that, Lord Ming, Lord Tianyuan has actually completed the assimilation. That astral body is just a bait, and there is actually more than one astral body. So you don't have to do this. Hearing this, Sha Yuji's face became dull. The justice that I had been holding on to in my heart was crumbling bit by bit. However, something suddenly occurred to him and he immediately looked at Ming next to him. As Sha Yuji had guessed, Ming's face was gloomy at this time, with a mixture of terrifying spell power and murderous aura, which made the man in a suit in front of him almost unsteady. Oh, does that mean Tianyuan is playing tricks on me? Ming, who was already extremely irritable, heard this and his anger was ignited again. Although there was no expression on his face, Sha Yuji knew that Ming was even more angry this time. Ming slowly stood up, his eyes had switched to the eternal kaleidoscope form. Tianyuan is in there, right? Ming asked coldly. The man in the suit was so frightened that he could not speak. Ahem, stop, Ming, Sha Yuji said with difficulty. Jack. Ming turned back to look at Sha Yuji. At this time, Sha Yuji was in extremely bad condition. Not only the injuries on his body, but also the news he had just heard made his eyes very cloudy. Ming, listen to me, since this matter has been completed, there is no need to do this. We need to go back, Sha Yuji said with difficulty, but there was self-doubt in his eyes. I understand. Ming walked towards Sha Yuji. Puff. Jia. Ming quickly came to Sha Yuji's side. Looking at Sha Yuji who passed out, he didn't say anything, picked up Sha Yuji and walked out. Then he looked coldly in Tianyuan's direction. But he didn't do anything. He wanted to wait for Sha Yuji to wake up. And looking at Ming walking away, the man in the suit could no longer hold on and collapsed on the ground, breathing heavily. Even he didn't understand that as Tianyuan's guard, someone like him who had already ignored death for a long time could be so afraid. On the other side, Fu Heixir came to a place and met Kong Xiu. I didn't expect that you would miss, Kong Xiu said while lighting his cigarette. I thought it was successful, but both you and I underestimated the person named Uchiha Mei. Fushiguro explained. Stronger than Gojo Satoru, Kong Xiu said. Who knows, but it seems that he is more difficult to deal with than Gojo Satoru here. If I face Gojo Satoru, who is completely victorious, I am 50% sure of killing him. But facing him, I have no confidence. Gohei Jinji plainly said. Is it so strong? It seems that reform in the Jujutsu world is coming, Kong Xiu said. Anyway, it has no impact on us. I'm only interested in money. After Fu Heixir finished speaking, he left. Kong Xiu looked out the window and fell into deep thought. When Fu Heixir walked out of the room, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Hey, long time no see, the figure said slowly, with a hint of madness in his eyes. Real, fake, illusion. Fushikiji looked at the Gojo Satoru in front of him, and then judged that the Gojo Satoru in front of him was real. Reverse the technique, Fu Heixir muttered as he thought of a possibility in an instant. That's right, when I was stabbed by you, I didn't have the ability to resist. I had been activating the reversal spell at that time, and in that case I finally understood the core of the spell. Gojo Satoru's expression grew worse. Lai Kwang explained. When the negative magic power and the negative magic power are multiplied, a positive magic power will be produced. Ha ha ha, if you had cut off my head at that time, then the victory would be yours. Excitement appeared on Gojo Satoru's crazy face. Winning or losing, it's just the beginning, Fu Heixir said confidently. Ah, really? Yeah, maybe. Gojo Satoru's expression became even more crazy. And looking at Gojo Satoru like this, full of flaws, how could Fushiguro let go of this opportunity? Quickly rushing towards Gojo Satoru, Fushikiji waved his tenmu, but Gojo Satoru dodged with an extremely weird movement. Reversal of the technique. Gojo Satoru put his index and middle fingers together, and then the energy he wrote gathered at his fingertips. A terrifying repulsive force pushed Fushikiji back several meters and hit the building hard. Really, all of them are like monsters. Fu Heixir began to move his body. In his mind, he judged the ability of Gojo Satoru. The first is the defensive power of time and stop, the second is the attraction of Kang, and the last is the repulsive force, the reversal technique. No problem, Fu Heixir said confidently, took out a chain, fastened the Tian Ni on it and began to rotate the Tian Ni. But looking at Gojo Satoru floating in the air, he felt a sense of disobedience which he couldn't describe. Soon he concentrated. Gojo Satoru was swimming in the sky, thinking about what happened. I'm really sorry. Whether it's you or Ming, I'm not worried or angry at all. I just feel that this world makes me very happy. Gojo Satoru thought to himself, and then Gojo Satoru, who was floating in the air, stood up and pointed to the sky and the ground. I am the only one in heaven and under heaven. I am the only one in heaven and under heaven. At this moment, Fushiguro threw out the Tianyi in his hand. The huge strong wind splashed the rocks on the ground in the distance, and the Tianyi rose into the sky very fast. But Gojo Satoru is still calm and calm. He knew that Jin-er understood his technique. After all, no matter how strong the technique passed down from generation to generation was, its shortcomings were obvious and it was easy for intelligence to be collected and targeted. Gojo Satoru stretched out his hand, but this time it was not he. At this time, Gojo Satoru's gesture looked like bouncing something. When the forward and reverse rotations create their own infinite conflicts, they create an extremely powerful imaginary quality. Virtual form open black lens bracket see close black lens bracket. Gojo Satoru popped out his hand, and a terrifying attack followed. When the majestic energy appeared, Fushiguro smiled. I see. Haven't I lost my self-esteem a long time ago? I'm the strongest. Did I really lose? Fushiguro knew where the feeling of disobedience came from. Even if he knew he would lose, he still wanted to give it a try. Can you kill the man in front of you? The figure of a child appeared in Fushiguro's mind, and that child looked very similar to him. Do you have any last words? Gojo Satoru said calmly. My child will be sold to Zenon's family in 2 or 3 years, and his life and death will be left to you. Even in the face of death, Fushiguro's eyes and expression remained calm. And when he closed his eyes, he said, who is stronger, you or that man? After saying this, Fushiguro closed his eyes. There was no wave in Gojo Satoru's dull eyes. He slowly turned around and finally walked in one direction. After a while, Ming, who was holding Shayuji with cold eyes, looked up at Gojo Satoru, who was standing in front of him in a panic with a calm expression. Are you going to kill them all, Ming? I won't feel any guilt now. Gojo Satoru said calmly. His eyes without any waves were completely different from the Gojo Satoru who escaped before. And the power on his body became more oppressive. Ming ignored Gojo Satoru's state and felt relieved to see Gojo Satoru standing there intact. Then he said calmly, let's wait until Jia wakes up. Let's go back, Wu. Ming came to Gojo Satoru, not paying attention to the crowd around him. His body began to twist and finally disappeared from the place with Gojo Satoru. On the other side, Shoko Utahime and Yaga Masamiki are waiting for Gojo Satoru and others to come over in the classroom. Everyone looked at the whirlpool in front of them and stood up immediately. He knew that Ming was back. Before they could ask any questions, Ming looked at Shoko and said, Shoko, I'm sorry to bother you. Shoko nodded without any hesitation, and then everyone came to the medical room, where Shoko treated Shayuji. What happened? What happened? Yaga Masamiki asked. He didn't understand why the 3 of them were in such a mess. Shayuji was seriously injured, Gojo Satoru was very bloody, and even Ming was not in a good mood. Without saying a word, his eyes were focused, and the vortex space suddenly emerged, and 2 figures appeared in the vortex. These 2 people are Tanuchi Riko and Kuroi. Astral body. Didn't Lord Tianyuan assimilate? Yaga Masamiki said seriously. Then Ming told the story. Everyone frowned, not knowing what to say. Tanuchi Riko and Kuroi, who were originally very happy, were also very sad to hear that someone had been assimilated. And no one spoke and the scene was very depressing. Only Gojo Satoru and Ming were expressionless at the scene. Ming knew it a long time ago, but Gojo Satoru's state was always wrong. And when he heard Ming finish speaking, he turned around and left. Wu, where are you going? Come back to me. Ming suddenly shouted loudly. This sound startled everyone. Looking at the indifferent Gojo Satoru, everyone finally noticed that Gojo Satoru was in a bad state. Go out for a trip, Gojo Satoru said indifferently. Everyone walks towards the door. But everyone knows that Gojo Satoru is definitely going to kill someone this time. I said, come back here, Satoru, you can't do anything until Jia wakes up. Ming Leidao shouted angrily in front of Gojo Satoru. Everyone looked at the two of them without daring to interrupt. They didn't know why Ming had such a big reaction. And Ming was already angry because Shayuji and Gojo Satoru were injured. Looking at the unfamiliar Gojo Satoru, he didn't know why he was even more angry. Ming, you can't stop me now, Gojo Satoru said indifferently, his face still showing no joy or sadness. Haha, Satoru, you think you are talking. The dark eyes switched to Sharingan, and the majestic power of the curse burst out. Apparently he laughed out of anger at Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru, on the other hand, had a dull expression and glanced at Ming indifferently, then walked around him and continued walking forward. If you want to go to a high school, you have to defeat me. Otherwise, I won't let you go, Sajuluo Wu Ming said coldly, and then walked out of the room first. Gojo Satoru also slowly followed Ming. Everyone looked at the two of them with flashes of worry, and even Shoko was a little confused. This was the first time they saw the two of them like this. After all, the previous quarrels were just complaints between friends, but this time it was obviously different. Teacher, Shoko looked at Yaga Masamiki. Let's go out and take a look first. Satoru's condition is not right, Masamiki said seriously. Then everyone came to the training ground. But Masamiki and the others did not move forward. After all, they are also afraid of being injured. It would be dangerous to watch a battle of this level from the sidelines. Wu, I won't hold back, Ming said with a cold face. Come on, try your best, don't let me down, Ming. Gojo Satoru said indifferently. Asshole, stop looking down on others, Ming said angrily. No nonsense, the two fought directly against each other. Black flash, black-red lightning appeared in Ming's fist. Gojo Satoru raised his fist and punched out casually, Ming's deep meaning flew out. Ming instantly stabilized his body. Then he looked at Gojo Satoru with a surprised look on his face. You have indeed understood the reversal technique. Ming was a little surprised. As if responding to him, Gojo Satoru brought his index and middle fingers together, and red light magic began to gather on his fingertips. Reversal of the technique. Hyuk, a powerful repulsive force instantly gathered from Gojo Satoru's fingertips. Ming didn't dodge, and came to Gojo Satoru's side in an instant. He had no fear at all because of the power of the gods. But again he has no way to attack Gojo Satoru. Just play, Ming instantly transformed into a physical entity and punched out, wrapping his fist with divine power. Gojo Satoru watched indifferently as an invisible aura appeared around Ming's body. You feel like an invisible wall separates him from Gojo Satoru, and he can't get even remotely close. Gojo Satoru's eyes suddenly opened wide, and invisible walls surrounded Ming. It even felt like his body was being squeezed into a confined space, and was shrinking further. Ming did not dare to hesitate, and instantly became virtual and escaped, because if he hesitated for a moment, he would definitely be crushed into a meat pie. Just as Ming retreated, Gojo Satoru held Satoru's hands together. When he came to Ming again, his aura was also brought in. Gojo Satoru knows that as long as Ming is not allowed to switch into a physical entity, Ming will automatically transform into a physical entity after 15 minutes. Mei also saw the intention of enlightening Gojo Satoru's path. Huge mana surged. Susanoo appeared, surrounded by Amaterasu. Gojo Satoru backed away instantly. Ming looked at Gojo Satoru solemnly. The combination of divine power and Amaterasu can naturally break through Gojo Satoru's defense by burning the void. This is also Ming's eternal new ability. It can combine two pupil techniques and consumes a lot of energy. When using this move, Kagethuman cannot use it, cannot change its form, and cannot deal with the teleporting Gojo Satoru at all. But it can protect him very well. Gojo Satoru looked at Ming's Susanoo, still looking like Furui Muha. Not enough, Ming, Gojo Satoru said calmly. Yeah, why don't I use all my strength to deal with you, Sajuluo? But I hate you now, Ming said, and then the curse power boiled up again, and 100-meter-tall Susanoo appeared instantly. It would be impossible to defeat Gojo Satoru with the complete Susanoo. What is that? Tanuchi Riko looked at the tall figure. For her who had always lived in the world of ordinary people, not only he but also Yaga Masamiki was shocked and speechless. Not to mention them. I didn't expect Ming to do it to this extent. Yaga Masamiki frowned. Sansai, what should we do? Neither of us held back this time. Shoko said worriedly. No, Shoko, that guy Gojo hasn't used his full strength yet. Yaga Masamiki said while looking at Gojo Satoru, who still had no expression on the battlefield. Back on the battlefield, Mei used all his Susanoo because he felt he would lose. He must be the one who loses when he keeps his hand. Although the two were competing, he was so proud that he would not allow him to lose. Come on, Satoru, said the underworld controller Susanoo, pulling out the twin swords at his waist. This action instantly set off a huge gust of wind. The giant drew his sword and slashed at Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru raised his hand, and the majestic repulsion filled his body. Even the complete Susanoo of Hades could not make any further progress. Ming swings another sword here, but is blocked by Gojo Satoru again. Then Gojo Satoru's body exploded with even stronger repulsion, and his swords were knocked away. Gojo Satoru held his hands and came to Ming, which was the crystal on Susanoo's head. The azure six eyes and the scarlet Sharingan stared at each other. Gojo Satoru pointed his hand at Ming. Spell reversal hyuk. The huge repulsive force was compressed and exploded with unrivaled power, and Susanoo was instantly knocked down. However, the ghost inside Susanoo was not harmed at all. Susanoo, the controller of Kamui Shuriken, instantly flew into the sky. Start attacking with Kamui Shuriken. But Gojo Satoru didn't panic at all, he dodged one by one, and his movements were very weird. Ming, this one is not my opponent. Gojo Satoru lay in the air, Ming's attack seemed to be ignored by him. Stop looking down on people, Kamui, slash. The power of Hades Kamui attached itself to the sword and slashed towards Gojo Satoru, but even so, it was bounced away. Gojo Satoru flew up and made a flicking motion with his fingers. Virtual style. A huge black sphere headed towards Hades. Ming reacted instantly. A huge shield appeared in Hachikaku mirror, Susanoo's hand and began to resist the blow. This attack Ming knows that the divine power is useless, because the virtual style can cut space. What? The 8-foot mirror, Yaga Masamiki exclaimed. What's wrong, teacher, is this 8-foot mirror the same legendary cursed tool as the Juken sword? Shoko asked confused. What, you said Ming still has the 10-fist sword? Yaga Masamiki looked at Shoko in surprise. Yes, it is the sword condensed by Susanoo. It is obviously just ordinary magic power, condensed, but it has a very strange ability. Ming also said at the time that they were divine weapons. It was not condensed by him but lodged in an artifact in his eyes, Shoko explained. No wonder, there are no clues about these two cursed tools. I didn't expect them to have no entity. Yaga Masamiki was a little surprised. Then explained, the 8-foot mirror can withstand any damage. It is said that the 8-foot mirror can change its own attributes according to the attributes of the attack, thereby invalidating the attack. So powerful, Tanuchi Riko said in surprise. It's not that simple. His opponent is Satoru. On the battlefield, the Dark Susanoo has resisted Gojo Satoru's Kyoshi. But the 8-foot mirror also had cracks. Ming pulled the 8-foot mirror away from his hand, and his eyes flashed with unprecedented solemnity. Even the 8-foot mirror could not completely resist Gojo Satoru's attack. You must know that the 8-foot mirror condensed on him, the consumption is huge. Are you blocking it? Since it's Ming, let's be a little more arrogant. Gojo Satoru's expression changed from calm to crazy at this time. The magic technique turns brilliant, the magic technique turns dark. Koshiki, Gojo Satoru once again performed a more terrifying virtual style than before. This monster looked at Gojo Satoru, who attacked again and had to sigh with emotion. Gojo Satoru is indeed the strongest in the original work. Because Ming's Sharingan told him that Gojo Satoru's mantra consumption was basically no consumption. Who do you think I am? I am Uchiha Mei. Mei looked at the attack that had flown in front of him, and controlled Susanoo to swing the giant sword towards the attack. Ming did not choose to escape. The long sword in my hand was shattered instantly without me resisting it for even a second. Then Susanoo started to resist the attack with both hands, but his body was disintegrating bit by bit. Get away, you fool. Gojo Satoru recovered at this time, his face full of panic. But Mei didn't seem to hear it. Susanoo's hands were shattered, and Mei used the huge magic power in his body to restore it again. Only Ming Gon can play like this. If the spell power of others is absorbed, the attack released by Gojo Satoru this time is too strong, and the speed of recovery cannot match the speed of destruction. After holding on for a while, Susanoo began to break apart little by little. At this moment, Gojo Satoru came to the sky above Ming, intending to rescue Ming. After all, he could still resist this limited virtual style. After all, it was his body's curse that emitted energy. Not good. Gojo Satoru frowned. He was too late now. Although he knew that this move wouldn't kill Ming, he didn't want to see Ming get seriously injured. Shoko. Looking at Shoko in the distance, Gojo Satoru shouted anxiously. I plan to let Shoko come to the rescue. After all, he knew that even if Minjin caught one of his empty attacks, he would be seriously injured. Is that kind of sudden state so difficult to control? Gojo Satoru frowned. It's not his fault. After all, magic power is inherently negative, and it will take some time for him to adapt to the sudden surge in magic power. Just when everyone was anxious, Gojo Satoru looked at the disappearing Kyoshi in surprise, and felt a powerful and majestic curse. This curse was not the dark negative energy but the positive energy multiplied by the 2, energy. Have you finally figured it out? Gojo Satoru smiled. Shoko and others who rushed over anxiously looked at Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru smiled and said, it's okay. Go back quickly. The battle has just begun. What method did you use to make my Kyoshi disappear? Not even a trace of the magic power remains. Gojo Satoru murmured. Go back, the battle has just begun, Gojo Satoru said. The scene returned to where Ming was resisting Gojo Satoru's hollow-style Pyrene. Watching the attack in front of him, Ming didn't flinch at all. The magic power attached to his hands and began to resist the attack. He watched the shattered Susanoo in the same start. The dissipated arm, Ming began to use the inversion magician. At the moment when he was close to death, Ming finally understood the reversal technique, and the majestic curse power in his body began to slowly transform into the positive curse power, and his body also burst out with vigorous vitality and began to repair the body. Ming resisted the attack again and again, slowly transforming everything in his body. When all the magic power was transformed into him, the magic power in his body began to converge towards his eyes. And his Mangekyō Sharingan disappeared in his eyes in an instant, and then ripple-like textures appeared in his eyes. Hungry Ghost Path, absorb. Then Gojo Satoru's attack disappeared in an instant and smoke bombs were released. Everyone looked at Ming standing in the pit intact, but Ming lowered his head at this time, and they did not see Ming's expression. I didn't expect that you actually understood the reversal technique. I planned to teach you well then, Gojo Satoru said with a smile. You've changed back. I thought I was going to wake you up. Ming said calmly. Hit me. Can you do it? Gojo Satoru said nonchalantly, but his eyes were serious, and it was obvious that he also noticed Ming's changes. Really? Woo, Ming said lightly, then slowly raised his head, revealing a pair of purple-rimmed reincarnation eyes. Can I still evolve? Wu thought to himself. A sense of depression filled the heart, but Shoko and others who had already retreated to the back did not see this scene. Ming faintly raised his hand towards Gojo Satoru. All things are attracted by heaven. Gojo Satoru's figure flew towards Mingna unconsciously. Gojo Satoru instantly opens up the infinite and stabilizes his figure. Unexpectedly, Ming slowly lowered his hand. Oh, my ability, your eyes, can you copy my ability? That's really interesting, Gojo Satoru said lightly, but he didn't think so mentally. The body of Ming who opened the reincarnation eye seemed to be covered by a veil. It's so average, even 6 eyes can't see through it. Of course not, it's just the eyesight that comes with these eyes. Come on, let's start the second round, Wu, Ming said calmly. Since it's not my ability, then it's just mediocre, Gojo Satoru said disdainfully. Ming couldn't be too lazy to talk nonsense to Gojo Satoru now. He was very unhappy about being beaten just now. Heaven's hand power. Gojo Satoru, who was in the sky, felt the scenery in front of him change and looked at Ming in front of him. Instinct activates repulsion. But how could Ming give him a chance? A black list appeared in his hand and he stabbed Gojo Satoru. The moment the black list appeared, Gojo Satoru felt that the black list could penetrate his infinity. To be precise, it could disturb his infinity. Then he clasped his hands and disappeared. Ming, put your hands together. If I can't catch you, I'll seal you. Earth explosion star. Ming pointed his hand at Gojo Satoru, and gravity suddenly appeared around Gojo Satoru, and everything around him smashed towards him. Hawk. Gojo Satoru looked at the gravity around him, and then released Hawk's repulsive force to neutralize the blow. Playing with gravity in front of me, you guy. Gojo Satoru said angrily. Then he aimed his hand at Ming, and Ming's body flew towards Gojo Satoru. Then he was thrown to the ground by Gojo Satoru. After Ming hit the ground, his eyes looked at Gojo Satoru. Tenho Riki swaps places with Gojo Satoru. That's how it feels. What kind of ability is it? The curse power can't be mobilized. Gojo Satoru thought to himself. A blackboard penetrated Gojo Satoru's leg. Why is the magic power sealed? Ming had a sneer on his lips. Wanxiang Tianyi. Gojo Satoru is attracted to Ming. But Gojo Satoru reacted quickly and took out the iron rod in an instant. The inversion magician instantly cured Ichigo, and the infinity emerged around him, blocking Ming's attack again. Haku. A red beam appeared in Gojo Satoru's hand. Shenri Tianzhong. Two powerful repulsive forces confronted each other, white light suddenly appeared around them, and the two quickly retreated. The art of psychics. A huge dog head appeared in front of Ming and Gojo Satoru. And there are all kinds of animals. You guys, are you planning to open a zoo? Gojo Satoru said. But he thought to himself, it's not a cursed spirit, but there is cursed power in the body, and there are eyes like Ming. Are they the Shikigami of these eyes? TCH, Ming Yi said without any nonsense, and let these psychic beasts start running around. After all, a psychic beast with only one level of cursed spirit strength would be of no use against Gojo Satoru. The reason why he summoned it was to increase his field of vision. Although Gojo Satoru didn't know Ming's intentions, he still kept an eye on it, knowing that Ming was very sinister. Then the battle started again, and Gojo Satoru was repeatedly seen through by Minghei during the battle. After some experiments, Gojo Satoru also knew the intentions of those psychic beasts. Those guys have the same field of vision as you, Gojo Satoru said. Although he did not receive any substantial damage from the battle just now, he was still in an extremely embarrassed state. It's too late to know. Enlightenment, the prison on the edge of the tomb. Clone, Wu Yao Wo exclaimed. Then the figure was controlled by Ming. Then Ming's figure began to retreat, and his eyes switched to the Mangekyō Sharingan. Satoru, didn't you ask me if you could absorb the planet into the divine space? I told you, you can't, Ming said calmly. Susanoo appears. Only the four-hand Shushunengu seal can be seen. Heavenly obstacle shocking star. On the other side, Wei Yunxiang and Nanami Kento came back. Seeing that no one was in the high school, they were wondering what was going on. They happened to meet Shayuji, who had just woken up in the medical room. Natsuyu-senpai, are you okay? Haihara Shang asked with concern. Nanami was also very worried. No problem, have you seen Ming? Shayuji asked. No, the two of them had just returned. Then Shayuji felt two huge spells. Shayuji was shocked to realize that it was Ming and Gojo Satoru. Go quickly. Shayuji didn't waste any time and ran to the training ground with the two of them. In about 10 minutes, Shayuji arrived with several people using cursed spirit. Stop it, you two, Shayuji shouted. What is that? The sky suddenly darkened. A huge boulder was falling, and everyone looked up at it. What is this? Tanuchi Riko collapsed on the ground. Although this attack could not affect her, people would still be helpless in the face of natural disasters. Maximum power. Hyuk, Gojo Satoru broke free and pointed his hands towards the sky. You two, stop it. Shayuji shouted loudly. At this time, Ming, who was standing in the distance with his arms around his shoulders and watching Gojo Satoru, and Gojo Satoru, who was using Jujutsu to bounce the meteorite back, both looked at the source of the sound. Jack, Jack. The two shouted at the same time, then one of them shook his hands, the other's eyes narrowed, and they both came to Shayuji's side at the same time. Is everything okay, Jia? Ming, how do you feel? The two said at the same time. You are indeed fine, Satoru. Shayuji Gojo Satoru, except for the blood on his forehead, was still alive and kicking and said happily. Then he looked at Ming, whose purple rippled eyes were full of mystery and power. Ming, your eyes have evolved again. Shayuji was a little surprised. Yes, Ming nodded. He checked Sha Yuji with his samsara eye and found that except for the fact that his spell power had not recovered, he was in good condition. Hey, you haven't figured out the situation yet. Yaga Masamiki was also happy to see the three people who had recovered, but the current situation was obviously not the time to talk. The three of them were a little puzzled, and finally looked behind them belatedly. The huge boulder in the sky that blocks out the sun is slowly falling. Even if it did not fall, the falling boulders of such a huge boulder also destroyed the surrounding trees. You are the one who caused this, so you should do it, Gojo Satoru gloated about the effectiveness of the misfortune. Ming, on the other hand, had a dark look on his face. How can he do it? His abilities are not easy to use in this situation. The cause of this incident is not that a certain guy suddenly fell ill. I just want to recover him. So you better go ahead, Ming said calmly. HMPH, don't I want to avenge you? Gojo Satoru said with a look of dissatisfaction. What are you talking about? Do I need you to take revenge? Who do you think I am? Ming said angrily. Why don't your ears work? And I'm not forgetful. I know who you are. Gojo Satoru looked like a dead pig that is not afraid of being raised in boiling water. You guys are definitely not awake yet. Do you need me to help you? Ming said through gritted teeth. Come on then, am I afraid of you? The winner hasn't been decided yet. I am the strongest, Gojo Satoru said with disdain. Okay, let's just stop talking and quickly find a way to solve the problem. Sha Yuji looked at the two of them speechlessly. Satoru, it's not like you can't crack it. It's a gift from me, Ming said sarcastically. What, who do you think I am? Look at me. Gojo Satoru curled his lips and turned to look at the boulder behind him. Gojo Satoru, who glanced at it, froze for a moment. There is no good way to solve the problem without affecting the surrounding areas. Why can't it work? Ming had a mocking look on his face. Stop talking nonsense, you guys, hurry up and find a way to stop the boulder from falling. Yaga Masamiki couldn't help but punch both of them on the head. The two of them were completely honest this time. Woo, I'll chop the boulder into pieces. You move the boulder away, Ming said calmly. Okay, Gojo Satoru nodded. No, unless it is moved to the sea, otherwise such a big boulder will cause panic. Yaga Masamiki said. That won't work, mine can't move that far. Gojo Satoru waved his hand. In this case, it can only be crushed, Ming said lightly. Cursed Spirit Technique, Extreme Fan, Vortex, Sha Yuji condensed a human vortex around his body. Oh, you have understood the ultimate power. Gojo Satoru and Mei were also a little surprised. It's okay, you all have made progress, and I can't stand still. But I haven't fully understood it yet, it's just a semi-finished product, Sha Yuji said with some pity. After all, he couldn't extract the cursed spirit spell yet. Okay, the technique will turn to Kang, the technique will turn to He. A huge black ball appears behind Gojo Satoru. Asura Dao, Asura's attack, an arm appeared on Ming's shoulder. The arm began to gather terrifying spell power. Then three powerful attacks began to be launched. Enlightenment, New, Magical Rotation, Kang. Weak, Earthburst Sky Star. Two huge forces of attraction began to attract the scattered stones into the air. Divine Power, Ming finally used Divine Power to transfer the remaining boulders that had not turned into fly ash to the Divine Power space. It's finally over. I'll take care of you when I go back. Yaga Masamiki wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuji didn't feel anything at all. Ming, on the other hand, stood there a little embarrassed. Sensei, teacher, Ming said with some embarrassment as he looked at Yaga Masamiki who was walking back. What's wrong, Ming? I will punish you and Satoru for whatever you say this time. Yaga Masamiki said. No, that's not over yet, Ming Luliang said a little embarrassed. What did you say? Yaga Masamiki said angrily and turned his head. At this time, an even bigger meteorite than before appeared in the sky. What's going on? Black lines appeared on Sha Yuji's face. You also know that simply summoning one is of no use to Satoru, so I summoned two. I don't care about you, Gojo Satoru said unhappily. Stop talking nonsense, Satoru, you are also involved in this matter. Hurry up and smash the stone to pieces for me. Ming immediately made a face to Gojo Satoru. Okay, I got it. You guy, I'll just crush him this time. Gojo Satoru said impatiently. Virtual style, see. Gojo Satoru once again used a more powerful virtual style, crushing an even larger meteorite. The underworld uses gravity to control it at this time. Then transfer to the divine space. After solving this matter, everyone returned to the classroom. Gojo Satoru and Meiya were inevitably taught a lesson. Still in front of juniors and Riko Tanuchi. Ming and Gojo Satoru are sulking at each other all day long because of something. If Shayuji hadn't been mediating in the middle, the two would have started fighting again. Gojo Satoru and the other three were also very tired because of Tanuchi Riko's matter, and Tanuchi Riko planned to invite several people from the high school to dinner, but no one refused. As a star prize body, you are still very rich. And on the way there, Shayuji looked at Ming. Ming, can your eyes switch to normal form? Shayuji asked curiously, looking at Ming who still maintained his reincarnation eyes. After all, these eyes were more conspicuous than his eternal kaleidoscope. Oh, I forgot. Ming closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, the purple rippled eyes had turned back into black pupils. By the way, didn't you say your eyes can't evolve? And those eyes are pretty ugly, Gojo Satoru complained. Shut up, Wu, Ming rolled his eyes. Forgot. Shayuji couldn't believe it. Could he forget this? After I learn the reversal technique, it doesn't cost me anything to open the Sharingan. Basically, I don't need to close it. Ming said calmly. Oh, what are those purple Sharingan eyes? Gojo Satoru asked immediately. He was very curious about Ming's eyes. If he didn't know the power of those eyes, he wouldn't be so embarrassed. It's not the Sharingan, it's the Rinnegan. Although it also evolved from the Sharingan, they are different. Ming said calmly. That is the Samsara Eye. Although it is also evolved from the Sharingan Eye, the two are not essentially the same. Ming explained. Reincarnation Eye, the name is good. Shayuji lost. Relative to the name of those eyes, I am very curious about his abilities. You can actually use some of my abilities. Gojo Satoru asked anxiously. What is your ability? Don't put too much emphasis on yourself. That's my reincarnation eye, the ability of heaven. What does it have to do with you? Ming said with disdain. TCH, how could it be such a coincidence? It couldn't be gravity, repulsion, and Ao's teleportation. Don't your eyes have two abilities every time they awaken? Gojo Satoru said disdainfully. First of all, is this the Rinnegan Eye? It's not the Sharingan Eye, and that one is not an extension of Kang, it's called Tenshao power. Finally, the repulsive force and gravity are a force that belongs to the way of heaven. Ming said lightly. Explain your abilities, Yaga Masamiki asked. Okay, let me first introduce the Samsara Eye. The Samsara Eye is a special physique that activates my body after mastering the reversal technique and converting the mantra on my body. When the two are combined, the power of all things will be awakened. And one thing is that when I use the Rinnegan, I cannot use the Sharingan Eye technique, but of course Susanoo can use it. The completed body requires a kaleidoscope. Quote. In terms of abilities, when awakening, in addition to some special abilities, my Samsara Eye has these 6 basic abilities. 6. That's so many. I haven't developed other abilities yet, so you basically have 6. Gojo Satoru said unhappily. Note that there are also special abilities. What the hell are you doing? Gojo Satoru just couldn't stand Ming's appearance. Okay, let's continue talking, Ming. Yaga Masamiki stopped the two quarreling people, and several people present were used to it. After all, the 3 of them would quarrel over nothing, and Riko Tanuchi was not surprised at all, let alone everyone in the high school. The Samsara Eye is divided into 6 paths. The first is the ability of heaven to control gravity and repulsion. Then the beast said, it is the huge creature I summoned. Not only can it share the field of vision, but its combat strength is about that, but there are more powerful ones that cannot be summoned temporarily. And those beasts are still unkillable. If you want to defeat them, you must first defeat me who cast the spell. In the end, the Shiradao is like this. When talking about the Shiradao, Ming's body changed and he stretched out 3 hands. And some of his hands were cannonballs. Asura Dao uses mantra as fuel to launch strong attacks, energy cannons, missiles, and tracking bombs, which turn me into a weapons arsenal. In the Hungry Ghost path, it means absorption. Energy attacks composed of mantras can be absorbed by anything with mantras. The remaining worldly realms and hell realms cannot be used because of the first awakening. At this time, the inversion magicians can be mastered everywhere. The remaining special move, Tenxiao's power, is to transfer the things and people seen with the eyes. Ming said lightly. What about that clone? I remember your clone was not that powerful and was very weird, Gojo Satoru asked. You can indeed see, Satoru, you really have a pair of good eyes. Ming was curious at that time why Gojo Satoru broke free so quickly. Although it was because the pupil technique used in a hurry was not very powerful, he was still beaten by Gojo. Satoru solved it quickly. The wheel tomb, the border prison, summons an invisible shadow to attack. That shadow has the same power and spell as me, but it cannot use the pupil technique. Normal people, or to be precise, no one in this world can do it except you and me. See, Ming explained calmly. It's a really strong ability. Gojo Satoru said calmly. At this point, few people said anything. Although they were also curious about other abilities, Mingyi did not continue. Even such Ming's ability amazed everyone. If this reincarnation eye can be given to others, even if it cannot become a special level, it would be very easy to become a first-level spell. Everyone came to the dining place, had a meal happily, and then returned to the high school. Although Riko Tanuchi was safe now, who knew if there were still any remaining evil spirits still lingering on? So let Tanuchi, Riko and Kuroi live in the high school for a while. During this time, Ming and Gojo Satoru cleared away all the remaining evildoers. The reason why they did not call Sha Yuji was because Ming and Gojo Satoru discovered that Sha Yuji had been listless since the last mission, as if he had something on his mind. Ming and Gojo Satoru asked, but Sha Yuji didn't say anything, leaving the two of them helpless. After this incident, the time the three of them spent together became shorter and shorter. After all, the three of them were too strong. Basically, no matter what the task was, one person could easily complete it, and the three of them were also the successors to Yuki Kuju, was successfully rated as a special level Jujutsu Master, especially Ming, who was rated as a special level Jujutsu Master by the senior management the next day after leaving Tianyuan. Ming, who was abroad, was drinking coffee and looking at the tall woman in front of him. Then he said calmly, to say it or not to say it. Hey, this is your attitude when asking for help. The tall woman replied with an unhappy look on her face. Forget it if you don't tell me anything. Ming stood up and left. Okay, I said it's not okay yet, but before I say anything, I want to ask you a few questions. The tall woman said. Tell me, I'm curious about why you want to become stronger even though you're so strong. The woman suddenly said seriously. Ming pondered. This world is very dangerous. It would be very dangerous if we stayed still, Ming said calmly. I don't believe it. Except for your best friend Gojo Satoru, I don't think anyone in this world can hurt you, not even Sha Yuji. And I think you have a better chance of winning against Gojo Satoru, the woman said. Are you enlightened? Ming's indifferent eyes fell into deep thought again. After all, the three of them haven't contacted each other for a long time. I don't know the answer. I'm just following my heart. My heart tells me that it doesn't allow me to stop moving forward. My abilities have basically been developed to the limit, and now I just need domain expansion. And you are today the only magician who can expand his domain, Ming said calmly. I know, in fact, domain expansion is a domain that is expanded by the realm of birth and magic. It is an instantiation of the domain. To expand the domain, you must not only use the best of your own birth and magic, but also use the barrier. Technique. Understand, then build. I remember that there is a kind of field that is an open field. Ming said calmly. It seems that you know a lot. Yes, it does exist. That kind of field existed thousands of years ago, but I don't know much about it. In today's world, Tianyuan is probably the only one who knows about it. Juju Yuji said calmly. Actually, I was very curious when we first met. It wasn't until our last mission that I learned that you were also a star plasma body before. Ming looked at Juju Yuji seriously. Have you really noticed? Yes, I was once an astral body. Juju Yuki said without any secret. Okay, I'm not very interested in this kind of thing. Just let me experience your domain expansion, Ming said calmly. You're really impatient, man. Yuki Kuju said. Ming ignored Juju Yuji and turned around to leave. Juju Yuji smiled sweetly and followed him. In a deserted place, Ming used his divine power to bring the two of them to a remote place and arrange the account. 99 Yuki, no nonsense, hold both hands together, with the index finger, little finger and thumb sticking together. Domain expansion, the space between stars. The surrounding environment was pitch black, with a starry sky above it. Well, this is my field. In my field, I will be given imaginary quality, Yuki Kuju said with a smile. Ming ignored him, opened his Sharingan and began to analyze the structure of the field in detail. After looking at it for about a minute, Ming frowned and looked at Juju Yuji. Attack me, Ming said. Are you sure? 99 Yuki asked. You must know that her domain attributes are not generally strong. Come on, Ming said nothing. Juju Yuji waved his hand, and Ming only felt that his body was instantly suppressed by a force that could not be restrained. However, he felt much better after running the spell. Continue to increase the intensity, Ming said calmly. The Sharingan stared intently at the 99 Yuki and the surrounding areas. 99 Yuji stepped up efforts. Kaka, Ming's body deformed instantly. But he recovered in an instant. And a strong vitality burst out from the body. Okay, that's enough, Ming said calmly. Oh, how's it going? I roughly understand the principle, and because of the difference in the birth technique, I can't expand the field according to your method. The problem still lies in the birth technique. My technique seems to me to be more cumbersome. Ming frowned and you said. Speaking of being complicated, Gojo Satoru's techniques are also very complicated, but since he awakened the Samsara Eye, his techniques are even more complicated than Gojo Satoru's. Actually, I suggest that you should meet Tien Yuan, because his understanding of the barrier will give you a lot of constructive suggestions. 99 Yuki said. That old guy. Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. I know you were very angry about your last mission, but I also said that the only person in this world who is qualified to guide you is Tien Yuan. 99 Yuji said. I know, it seems that we really need to see it. Ming said calmly. When are you leaving? 99 Yuki asked. What are you planning to do? Ming said with a dark look on his face. How could it be? I also want to return to my country. Wouldn't it be more convenient to follow you? No need, tell me the approximate address and I will use my divine power to send you back. Ming said with a headache on his face. That's not okay. I heard from my good apprentice that you are here for vacation. He has no right to know my whereabouts, Ming said calmly. It's not a secret. When you asked for leave, you had a serious quarrel with the old guys at the top of Neon. Juju Yuji said playfully. Ming didn't say anything. This matter was indeed no secret. When he refused to go on the mission, those old guys talked to him for a while, and their attitude was very bad. Naturally, Ming wouldn't spoil them, so he beat the senior executive directly. It couldn't be said to be a beating, but he just let the guy feel Tsukiyomi. Although Ming didn't torture him much at that time, the old man still stayed in the hospital for a month. And now I'm still in a trance. In the next few days, Juju followed him every day. Ming was so annoyed that he had to go back early. Haiyuan Shang called him and wanted to get together. Ming did not refuse. When they arrived in Japan, Juju didn't know what he was doing. The two of them separated, and Ming also walked to the high school. There is only Yaga Masamiki among the high school students at this time, and he is working on the cursed bones. 3 games. It's Ming, come in. Yaga Masamiki looked up and then continued to make his curse. The curses created by the teacher this time is very unusual. Maya sat down without any courtesy and glanced at the curses in Yaga Masamiki's hand. As expected, I can't hide it from you. I'm working on a technology that can change the entire Jujutsu world. Yaga Masamiki didn't hide it either. Then teacher, haven't you already done it? Ming said with a smile on his face. Ha ha ha, you kid. Just like that guy Satoru, he said the same thing. Really, it can only be said that Satoru and I are together. After all, you have taught 3 monsters. After Ming said this with a smile on his face, he immediately looked at Yaga Masamiki with a serious expression. Teacher, I want to ask you something. Hearing Ming's serious tone, Yaga Masamiki put down the curse in his hand, his expression became serious, and he looked at Ming and said, It's Jia you want to ask. Yes, Jia's mental state has been very bad since the astral body incident. I originally thought he would recover over time, but he didn't. Ming said seriously. Well, I've also noticed this. Since the last mission, you have become stronger and stronger, with more and more missions, and less time to meet each other. When you came back last time, I followed. He talked, he didn't say anything, Yaga Masamiki said. Yeah, so this time the guy from Hyuan asked us to come back and get together. I also wanted to see Jia's condition. Then I would take 2 days off to spend time with him. Ming said calmly. You kid, I'm afraid it's not to help Jay, but to take a vacation, Yaga Masamiki joked. Sansai, you may have misunderstood me, but I really don't want to perform those boring tasks anymore. Ming said and stood up calmly. Are you bored? I ask you, do you think you can win if you fight now, Satoru? Yaga Masamiki asked seriously. Who knows, I just won't lose anyway. Ming said calmly. Then he turned around and left the room and walked outside. Looking at Ming's back, Yaga Masamiki murmured, you won't lose. In the eyes of Yaga Masamiki, if there is one person who can surpass Gojo Satoru today, it is the student in front of him. Because Ming has never shown his full strength from before to now. Perhaps it is due to his personality. Ming-gon is always trying to catch fish, and his abilities are more and more perverted. Even when fighting against Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuji, although it sometimes seemed that they were attacking lightly, only Ming and Yaga Masamiki knew that Ming had been hiding all the time. Although Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuji did not use their full strength, it was obvious that Ming is the deepest hidden. Are you bored? Maybe this is your sadness. Each of them is a monster that is rare to encounter in a century, but they have become close friends who cherish each other. Chapter 61. In the eyes of Yaga Masamiki, all 3 Gojo Satoru have flaws in their characters, but it is also this flaw that makes the 3 of them become close friends. This is impossible in the eyes of others, but Yaga Masamiki is just the opposite. Gojo Satoru has an arrogant personality and does things without caring about the consequences. He is extremely bad and does things based on his preferences. However, for those who recognize him, he will use his own way to protect and comfort others. Sha Yuji's character is extremely stubborn, even a little extreme. Although he is quite sinister, he is a gentle person at heart. And Ming has a cold personality and is extremely arrogant, which is pride engraved in his bones. Except for those who can put down his cold mask, he doesn't care about others at all, but Yaga Masamiki knows in his heart that Ming is not like this, it is just covered up by his cold appearance, and Ming is a person who attaches great importance to feelings, people. From his last incident over the astral body, it can be seen that if he still chooses to respect Sha Yuji even when he is furious, only a few people from the high school can make Ming put down his pride. Ming, who came out of Yaga Masamiki, was wandering around the high school when his eyes suddenly darkened. Who is it? Ming's eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness. Shoko, you are a medical staff, why are you always in danger? Puzzle flashed in Ming's eyes. But he didn't hesitate, and his figure began to twist and finally disappeared from the place. The scene changed, and now he was floating in the air, looking at the dark tent indifferently, and had already seen through the internal affairs with his Sharingan. Ha 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 ha, it's so interesting. I didn't expect it. It really exists. But it's so weak. There was a happy smile on Ming's face, and at this time, Shoko's pupil technique burst out with a black flame, and the black flame hit the surrounding ghosts begin to burn. Heaven's hand power. Ming looked at the scene in front of him and teleported over. Shoko and others reacted when a cold voice sounded. Shenri Tianzhong. A terrifying repulsive force broke out, and the cursed spirit was instantly shattered by the huge repulsive force. Ming, you're here. Shoko and the others finally felt relieved this time. Long time no see. Shoko and Utahime, are Miss Mei Mei here too? Ming greeted calmly. What makes me curious is that Miss Mei Mei is here, and Shoko can actually trigger my pupil technique. Ming looked at Mei Mei curiously. Mei Mei smiled slightly and pushed up her clothes, and saw something like eyes growing on Mei Mei's white and tender arms. Have you been cursed? But there is one thing that puzzles me. I don't think you two should be sent on this mission. Ming murmured. Yes, this mission was originally sent to you, but since you beat that old guy last time, this mission was actually intended to be assigned to Yuki Kuju, but she rejected it, so the higher-ups contacted me. Originally thought it was just an ordinary first-level cursed spirit, but now it seems that it is not that simple. Mei Mei explained. Ming Zi covered his forehead. No wonder that woman knew his whereabouts. Forget it, let's remove the cursed spirit before that. Ming smiled slightly and didn't care at all. Ming took the 3 girls and walked inside. I wonder if Miss Mei Mei has any information about this cursed spirit. As far as we know, the cursed spirit here should have been born a long time ago, and after investigations by Utime and I, the one that best fits the characteristics of this cursed spirit is the legendary Yamada no Orochi. Mei Mei did not hide it either. Of course, if it is really Yamada no Orochi, even I will give up on this mission, but I think there is no Yamada no Orochi in it. It should be something like a cursed object related to Yamada no Orochi. Mei Mei said. Ming nodded. He also felt that it would be a bit embarrassing if the so-called Yamada no Orochi was really weak like this. You must know that the legendary cursed spirit of Yamada no Orochi is not just a single one after thousands of years of wear and tear. A level magician can solve it. In Mei's opinion, the most conservative estimate of Yamada no Orochi is that it has the strength of Ryomen Sukuna, with about 13 fingers. The 3 of them came to an altar without much thought. A cursed spirit slowly turned around, and a huge human-shaped cursed spirit with snake-like features looked over. Looking at Ming and others, greed flashed in their eyes. There must be a special one here. Mei Mei's eyes narrowed slightly. Even he didn't dare to say that this cursed spirit could be removed 100%, but Ming was there this time, so naturally she wasn't worried. Hee, human, I haven't seen a human in a long time. Renying cursed spirit grinned. It looks very scary. Oh, you are so smart. Forget it, if that's the case, let's get rid of you first. Ming was a little surprised. You must know that even special grade cursed spirits with wisdom are rare, not to mention that this guy is not very strong. With such wisdom. Human, do you want to kill me? Do you know who I am? The snake-shaped cursed spirit said. It's just cursed spirit, Ming said with disdain on his lips. Seeing such a ghost, cursed spirit couldn't bear it anymore, and saw a lot of black gas suddenly appearing around it, like a heavy fog. And they condensed snake heads one by one and bit them towards Ming and others. Ming's face was calm, his eyes were closed, and he opened a pair of purple eyes again, followed by a wave of terrifying pressure that pressed towards the cursed spirit like a tide. Although I don't need this power to deal with you, I also want to try what these eyes can do. Ming murmured to himself. The moment Ming's reincarnation eye appeared, a flash of fear flashed in cursed spirit's eyes, which was the tremor coming from the soul. How could a mere human being scare me? Cursed spirit said disdainfully, but ignored it. A terrifying repulsive force from Shenra Tianzheng broke out instantly, and the tongue of the terrifying black mist was instantly shattered, and the black mist began to dissipate in the blink of an eye. Cursed spirit looked at the snake that was attacking. A terrifying high temperature burst out from the terrifying snake. It slowly gathered on its mouth, and a blast of terrifying high temperature was emitted. Grave of Wheels, Border Prison. The flames dissipated instantly, and the snake-headed cursed spirit's head instantly fell off. At this time, he stared at Ming with wide eyes and an expression of disbelief. Ming slowly walked towards cursed spirit's head and stepped on it. The head was instantly torn apart, but what everyone didn't expect was that at this time, the snake-headed man once again opened his head and punched Ming, with terrifying black mist clinging to his fist. Be careful, Ming, the 3 girls reminded anxiously. How can you still survive after losing your head? Ming had already noticed that the snakehead cursed spirit was not dead, with a sneer on his lips. With one punch, cursed spirit's body instantly flew backwards, while Ming looked at the black mist stained in his hands. Simple spell power can't remove it. And cursed spirit got up from the ground, the black mist slowly wrapped around his body, and the injuries he had just been beaten by Ming healed quickly. It's useless. My black mist is the power given to me by the Lord. There is nothing you can do. Cursed spirit said confidently, and then his eyes were full of surprise. How could you? The snake-headed man showed a panicked expression for the first time, because after Ming's eye felt the power of the black mist, he lost interest and used the power of the hungry ghost path of the samsara eye to absorb this power. There's nothing surprising, right? A mere cursed spirit looks like a human being. It's really disgusting, so you'd better die. There was murderous intent in Ming's eyes. Then reach out to cursed spirit. Wanxiang Tianian, an attraction burst out, and the deep meaning around him flew towards Ming. Cursed spirit mobilized the power of the curse and was covered in high temperature, spitting a high-temperature fireball towards Ming. There was a sneer in Ming's eyes. Narrowing his eyes, he saw a figure appearing in front of Ming. This figure was the Snake Man. The Snake Man was also confused. Looking at the fireball, panic flashed in his eyes, but it was already too late. The fireball hit Cursed Spirit, and a burning smell appeared. Cursed Spirit and Ming were wrapped in black smoke, and the three women watching the battle outside didn't know what was going on. They only heard Cursed Spirit's screams, and then a shadow flew out, and another figure walked out slowly holding his shoulders. The former is naturally the Cursed Spirit, and the latter is naturally the underworld. Ming slowly walked towards the Cursed Spirit. At this time, he had completely lost interest in the Cursed Spirit. Although Cursed Spirit was seriously injured, he was able to use the black mist to heal his injuries, and the injuries were cured after a while. Although Cursed Spirit was not injured at this time, he was scared and for some reason he always felt like he would be killed. The recovery ability is indeed very strong, but I have no interest in reading any more. The purple light in Ming's eyes receded. You can't kill my human," Cursed Spirit said nervously. Ming ignored it. At this time, a flash of red appeared in his pupils, and then a half-length giant who was watching alone appeared in front of him. And a knife appeared in his hand. Ming didn't waste any time and slashed at the snake-shaped Cursed Spirit. The Cursed Spirit's body and mind were cut into pieces. But in a blink of an eye, the black mist filled the mantra and the mantra recovered again. Ha ha ha, you can't kill me. The Cursed Spirit, which had recovered at this time, was not as scared as before. Since the underworld couldn't kill him, what did it have to be afraid of? Even if it was sealed, he would be rescued. I really don't know what to say, Ming was too lazy to explain. I saw a knife appearing in the hand of another Susanoo, and there was a wine gourd at the end. The big knife stabbed out. It's useless. How could you kill me at this level, human being? How? Your sword. It's impossible. That sword has been destroyed by that adult. How could you? No. Cursed Spirit went from being calm just now to being frightened now. Ming ignored it, and after starting to loosen up, the Cursed Spirit was instantly sucked into the gourd along the sword body. And Ming was deep in thought at this time. From the information just now, he knew that his 10-fist sword also existed in this world, had similar functions, and was destroyed. According to legend, the 10-fist sword was destroyed by Yamada no Orochi, destruction. Interesting. Imagine the fictional Cursed Spirit Yamada no Orochi, then I really want to see your strength. Ming thought secretly in his heart. It does not affect the plot of the meeting. It is just a side plot of one person. After solving these matters, Mei will take Shoko back. By the way, Utahime, are you going back for this high school dinner? Ming looked at Utahime and said. I'm not going back, Utahime said with an unhappy expression. Thinking of my Gojo Satoru face, Utahime was extremely angry. Ha ha ha, that guy Wu really misses you and complains to me every time. Ming had a smile on his face. Really? Utahime asked with a look of disbelief. But Ming Zhao had already left with Shoko. Well, Miss Mei, I would like to take 2 days off, Utahime said. Okay, but you have to take me with you, Mei said. Huh, Utahime looked at Mei in confusion. Mei didn't speak. After this incident, he had a new understanding of Ming, which made him very interested, so he had something to cooperate with Ming. Don't worry, I just have something to discuss with Mr. Ming. Then he turned and left. Utahime froze on the spot with a cute look on his face. Then he immediately followed him. Wait a minute for me, Miss Mei. Ming and Shoko were walking on the road. Ming took out a lollipop from his pocket and threw it to Shoko. Shoko happily caught it, opened it and started eating. Shoko, how can a medical staff always be in danger if they have nothing to do? Ming said calmly as he walked in front. Oh, I can't help it. Every time Utahime-senpai calls me, nothing good happens, Shoko said lazily. Ming, on the other hand, turned around and stared at Shoko, giving Shoko a look of embarrassment. Then he said coquettishly, well, don't I also want to feel the feeling of fighting? Hee. Shoko also knew that Ming was very smart. Mei was fine at the scene, and Utahime's clothes were slightly dirty, but in this case Shoko actually activated the pupil technique that Ming had in her eyes. Next time, don't do this. This matter is very dangerous. If you encounter a stronger cursed spirit, you may not even be able to trigger the pupil technique. Ming said with a little gentleness. This is not an exaggeration. Just for example, when Kuroi faced Fushiguro, Fushiguro didn't want to kill her, so he knocked her unconscious and did not trigger the pupil technique. Otherwise, Ming would have already determined Fuhei location. I know, Shoko smiled sweetly. Then he jumped to Ming's side. The two slowly walked into the classroom. At this time, Nanami and Haihara Yu were also in the classroom. Senior Ming, you are back. Haiyuan Shang still looked full of energy. Ming looked at Haiyuan and smiled happily, while Nanami was still the same. Although the current Nanami is also very old-fashioned, she is not the same as the previous one. There are still some differences between Nanami, a wage earner. Nanami Kento waved to Ming and said hello, then turned around to read a book, while Haiyuan Shang talked eagerly with Ming. And also very talkative. And Ming also knew that Haiyuan Shang admired Sha Yuji very much. I also asked about Sha Yuji's situation. The three of them were busy during this period, so they had little contact. But Ming was disappointed. Although Haiyuan Shang often contacted Sha Yuji, Haiyuan Shang didn't see anything wrong, and Ming wasn't surprised either. After all, Haiyuan was a very nervous guy. At this time, Nanami, who was reading over there, raised his head and looked at Ming and others. Ming also looked at Nanami. He knew that Nanami, had a very delicate mind. Nanami, what do you think? Ming looked at Nanami Kento. I think Senior Shiu has doubts about his persistence because of what happened in the last astral body incident. He should be very confused now. Nanami is indeed Nanami, and every word he says goes straight to the point. Of course Ming also knows, but Sha Yuji is very stubborn, and even Ming and Gojo Satoru, who are close friends, may not be able to listen to his advice. 2 days passed in a hurry. At this time, Gojo Satoru had completed his mission and rushed back, and Sha Yuji came back with him. At this time, Sha Yuji looked very haggard, with thick dark circles under his eyes, and his face was all numb. He was no longer the same dark-hearted and gentle Sha Yuji as before. Gojo Satoru was also startled when he met Sha Yuji again. He teased Sha Yuji, but Sha Yuji just stiffly forced out an ugly smile. Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuji felt the power of Ming's spell when they entered the high school. Without any surprise, they went straight to Ming's dormitory. Ming Ziren also felt the arrival of Gojo Satoru and others. Hey, I haven't seen you for a long time. It seems that you are living well recently. Gojo Satoru had a happy smile on his lips. Nothing, no comparison with Master Gojo Satoru. Ming said, rolling his eyes. Speaking of which, Jia, you have such dark circles under your eyes. What did you do at night? Ming Yi was startled by Sha Yuji's appearance. Although there was a connection, he couldn't see anyone after all. Yeah, I'll ask Jay to be more restrained, Gojo Satoru said. Shut up, Wu. Sha Yuji finally regained some sparkle in his eyes. Oh, Jia, look at our looks. It's not necessary. It's really not possible. Let's spend some money. Wu is the best at it. Ming hooked Sha Yuji's shoulder and said. Get lost. Sha Yuji threw Ming Shou away angrily. Ha ha ha, it's okay. I'll pay the bill. Gojo Satoru looked like he understood everything. Ah, I realized that I was wrong about you. You are so good at this. There was disgust in Ming's eyes. Yes, Wu, I really misjudged you. I didn't expect you to look quite decent. I didn't expect to do such a thing. Sha Yuji also complained. Hey, what? It was obviously you who suggested it. Gojo Satoru said angrily. Oh, what did I say? Ming retorted calmly. I think you are targeting me. There is nothing you can do about it. Not being jealous is mediocre. It seems that you have finally understood that this young master is indeed the strongest one. Gojo Satoru said more and more. Excited, it can even be described as elated. What do you want to eat tonight, Ming? Sha Yuji looked at Ming and said. Hey, this really bothers me. I don't know. I have difficulty choosing. Ming Sao scratched his head and said. Gojo Satoru looked at the two of them with a look of resentment. These two people were definitely targeting him. Satoru, what do you think? He looked at Gojo Satoru with a smile on his face. Needless to say, of course it's cake. Gojo Satoru said. Hey, you guy, as expected, Hey, it seems that Jia and I are close friends. Ming sighed. What did you say? Why, look, Jia and I are both salty friends, and you are the only sweetheart, so you and we are not from the same group, so let's break up our relationship, Ming said with a pity look on his face. Jay, look at this fool. He just abandoned our friendship like this. Gojo Satoru roared. Enlightenment, haven't you learned the reversal technique? It's really time to change your taste. Sha Yuji said calmly. Gojo Satoru jumped up in anger. Got into a fight with the two of them. After this incident, Sha Yuji also recovered a lot. Ming was also very happy. At noon, Gojo Satoru and everyone were sitting in the classroom. Gojo Satoru began to show everyone the results of his training during this period. The specific results also surprised everyone. First of all, Gojo Satoru changed the unlimited time stop power from manual to automatic, and also added his repulsive force. The danger of the attack can be judged based on the spell power and the shape of the object, and the degree of danger. Different screenings are performed automatically whether to pause or attack. In other words, the situation like Fushiguro last time will not happen again. Not only that, Gojo Satoru also changed the inversion magician to automatic. Basically, in addition to destroying Gojo Satoru's brain instantly, otherwise he would rely on inversion. The magician, Gojo Satoru, is also extremely difficult to kill. What's more, Gojo Satoru also has an invincible technique with no lower limit. How's it going? Gojo Satoru said with a stinking look on his face. Satoru, you have indeed become the strongest. Sha Yuji said nothing, his eyes were full of darkness. Although he was also happy for Gojo Satoru, he was very confused in his heart. Gojo Satoru became stronger and stronger, and the three of them were separated. Since the separation, Sha Yuji has never used the help of Sharingan to devour the cursed spirit. Although he was also given the pupil technique by Ming, Sha Yuji was of no use. Because he felt that this was what he should bear. God gave him unparalleled talents, so he had to endure these, which caused him, who was already confused, to collapse even more. Gojo Satoru and Ming did not notice the injured Sha Yuji, and only Nanami Kento at the scene saw all this. Gojo Satoru was very happy when he saw everyone's reaction and continued, besides, Ao and Haku have almost mastered the multiple activations of each. And the requirement of palm seals has been omitted. The topic of the strategy now is the field. And teleported over long distances. Shoko, the others, and even Yaga Masamiki had to lament that Gojo Satoru was too strong. Gojo Satoru, who was originally extremely strong, has now clearly become the strongest magician in the contemporary era. But everyone still looked at Ming. After all, what would be the expression of this man who always suppressed Gojo Satoru and was extremely arrogant? At this time, Minori looked calm, as if he had not heard everything Gojo Satoru explained. That's it. I feel like you've been slacking off during this time. Ming looked at the people who were looking at him and said calmly. No one was entangled. After all, the person in front of them was Uchiha Mei, so it was not surprising what he said. You guys are not jealous of me, are you? Gojo Satoru said with an unhappy face. You must know that this is one of the few results of his serious training. Why do you think I'm jealous of you? Unfinished long-distance teleportation. I was able to do that kind of thing a long time ago. Or am I jealous of your clueless domain expansion? Ming said calmly. And Gojo Satoru looked at Ming in surprise. Ming ignored Gojo Satoru's expression and continued. My current power of divine power can also cause blur without time limit, and I can also attack. Everyone gasped. These two monsters. But Gojo Satoru thinks differently from everyone else. Wait a minute, you guys can already expand your domain, right? Gojo Satoru said. Who knows? Ming said with a confident smile on his face. It's impossible, absolutely impossible. It's impossible for you to understand domain expansion before me. Gojo Satoru said quickly. What's the fuss about expanding the field earlier than you? Ming said with disdain on his face. What are you so proud of? I can expand my domain very quickly. Besides, I was the first to understand the inversion master. Am I proud? Gojo Satoru said. Hey, I'm just an inversion magician. What's there to show off with such a simple magic technique? Ming shouted angrily. Easy, then why don't you learn faster than me? Gojo Satoru said with a proud look on his face. You have to understand, the reason why I didn't understand the reversal technique is because I have never been injured, and I didn't understand the core. You realized it before me because you faced that monkey and was beaten into a dog, so you realized it. Oh, I really can't imagine being beaten to that half-dead state by a person without magic power, and almost killed. I wouldn't even have the nerve to mention such a thing. Quote. After hearing what Ming Xin said, Gojo Satoru's expression kept changing, and then he looked at Ming Xin angrily. You guy, weren't you beaten half to death by me before you understood the reversal technique? You are still not as good as me. If I hadn't kept my hand, I would be worse than you. Gojo Satoru roared with anger on his face. Woo, you guy, you still dare to mention what happened last time. I have never been so embarrassed since I was born. If I hadn't seen you possessed last time, I would have beaten you into a dog. Ming Yi was angry. Roared. What did you say? You have a vicious tongue. What's wrong? Stinky white hair. The two quarreled here, and the style of the painting changed instantly. The two were like children. Gojo Satoru pulled Ming's black hair, and Ming kicked Gojo Satoru's thigh and also pulled Gojo Satoru's white hair. Q version Gojo Satoru in Hades. Let me go, Gojo Satoru said with a painful look on his face. Why do you order me? Am I someone you can control? You let me go first, Ming said with an unconvinced look on his face. Why should I let it go first? If you want to let it go, you have to let it go first. The two of them made no concessions. Everyone laughed out loud when they saw the two people whose painting styles had changed. Yaga Masamiki coughed seriously at this time, and then asked the two to stop. But both of them were tempered, so how could they stop? When Sha Yuji saw this scene, he walked out from behind with a helpless smile on his face. Looking at the two people fighting like children, he said gently, Ming Yuwu, please stop it. You look like a senior, okay. Just as Sha Yuji finished speaking, a sudden change occurred. Gojo Satoru's shoes were seen flying towards Sha Yuji at an extremely fast speed, but Sha Yuji did not pay attention and was hit in the face by the shoe. The shoe fell off Sha Yuji's face, and a shoe print was left on Sha Yuji's handsome face. Sha Yuji's face was covered with black lines and his eyes were gloomy, but he still suppressed his unhappiness and tried to maintain a gentle attitude and said, can't help it. Before Sha Yuji could finish speaking, another shoe flew towards him. Fortunately, Sha Yuji was well prepared and avoided it immediately. At this time, the two people, who were fighting more and more fiercely, did not hear Sha Yuji's words at all. Sha Yuji had just dodged a flying shoe, and was about to turn around when he called the two of them to stop again. A shoe flew again, and again accurately landed on Sha Yuji's face. I'm going to beat you two to death today. Sha Yuji couldn't suppress the anger in his heart at this time. He rolled up his sleeves and walked towards the two people who were having a fierce fight. As a result, the war between the two turned into a fight between the three. And the scene became increasingly chaotic. Jay, why did you hit me? Gojo Satoru screamed. Jia, you idiot, you have said that you don't slap people in the face. How dare you slap my handsome face? Ming's angry voice also sounded at the same time. Then Ming punched Sha Yuji. Sha Yuji felt his nose feel warm and watched the blood flow out of it. In the last Q version, the strongest trio started fighting each other. After fighting for a while, Yaga Masamiki couldn't bear it anymore and walked towards the three of them and roared, stop, or I will be punished by standing there until dawn. When the three heard Yaga Masamiki's voice, they were shocked and stopped immediately. Yaga Masamiki looked at the three of them with a gloomy expression and one of them punched the three of them. Stand still for me. The three of them also stood in line obediently, and the three of them looked at each other, and then turned their heads away with a cold snort. From left to right, Gojo Satoru turned his head to the left, while Ming looked at the sky. Yuji turned his head to the right. The three of them looked at each other with disgust. Looking at the three people standing there, Shoko had a smile on his face, while Nanami and Nanami were holding back their smiles. After all, they were seniors and they didn't dare to laugh. In fact, I don't blame Shoko and others, the three of them are really funny. Not to mention the tacit understanding of turning their heads in different directions at the same time, the funniest thing is the current image of the three of them. Gojo Satoru was barefoot, one of his spectacle lenses was missing, his hair was messy, and his handsome face was swollen and completely asymmetrical. And his nose was bleeding. Mingzi had a black eye on his right eye, his hair was still messy and had the same style as Gojo Satoru, and he also lost a shoe. Shayuji was also miserable, his head was completely shattered, and he even had a pair of panda eyes. The worst part was that he could no longer open his eyes, a pair of panda-sized eyes. The clothes on his upper body were torn like a beggar. Looking at the three people, Yaga Masamiki was really speechless. They finally got together and either quarreled or fought. Fortunately, no spells were used this time. But this image reminds me that Utahime will bring guests later. He was just really helpless. You three guys, go and clean up for me right now. Yaga Masamiki pointed in the direction of the dormitory. Yes, Laosi, teacher, Gojo Satoru. Yes, Master Lu, teacher, Ming. Like, teacher, Shayuji. The three of them answered obediently at the same time. Why are you trying to imitate me? Gojo Satoru looked at the two of them. Who is imitating your speech? Please understand, you two are obviously imitating me. No matter what, I must have made the sound first. Shayuji looked at him and said unhappily. Seeing the three people who were about to quarrel again, Yaga Masamiki immediately roared angrily, "Get back here quickly." The three of them immediately obeyed, but the disgust in their eyes did not fade away. Looking at the three people walking away, Yaga Masamiki also smiled slightly, and his anxious heart finally felt at ease. But then his face immediately darkened. Because the three of them started arguing again. I saw three people trapped in the doorway. Yes, they were trapped there. The three of them wanted to go out to the classroom, but the entrance to the classroom was very narrow, and none of them had the intention to give way. In the end, the three of them were trapped there at the same time. I told you, let me go first, don't you two understand? Ming said with an angry look. Why, I said I should leave first. Shayuji also looked dissatisfied. Why, let you go first? It should be me, but I'm standing on the far left. Shut up Satori, the one on the right should go first. You two guys should really get some sunshine, so you won't be regarded as idiots. I'm standing in position C, facing the door. I should be the one to leave first. Yaga Masamiki, with his forehead bent at this time, was really tired. As expected, there was nothing he could do about these three guys. After the farce ended, the three of them tidied up their appearance, and then used the inversion magician to treat their injuries. After such a long time, Shayuji also mastered the inversion magician, so the injuries from the slapstick just now are not good for you and the others. It was cured very simply. After tidying up everything, everyone walked towards the dinner place. When they arrived, the three of them looked at each other with happy smiles on their faces, because this place was the room that Yaga Masamiki had booked after the three of them met for the first time. But unlike last time, different from the naive ones a year ago, the three of them have become super magicians, and this time there are Utahime, Nanami Kento and others, and even Mei Mei. During this dinner, Ming and the other three surprisingly did not quarrel, but ate very well. Everyone felt strange because of the calmness of the three of them. After eating, Ming and the other three walked out first in tacit agreement. Yaga Masamiki did not stop him, looking at the three people with a look of depression in their eyes. And Shoko and others did not follow him out. This is a conversation between men. At this time, the three of them were walking on the street and wandering around. Gojo Satoru and Shayuji were not walking funny at this time. The appearance of the three of them attracted the attention of passers-by, but the three of them just walked aimlessly. Hey, tell me, how long will it take for me to go like this? Gojo Satoru spoke first. Gojo Satoru spoke, and the three of them stood there at the same time. Satoru, what are your plans for the future? Mei looked at Gojo Satoru and said. Only the devil knows. Gojo Satoru's eyes were a little dodgy and he turned his head, not wanting them to see the sadness in his eyes. Where's Jay? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what to do now. Shayuji's eyes were full of confusion. What about you, Ming? I, like you, haven't thought about it well. Complexity flashed in Ming's eyes. Okay, why make it so complicated? Really, I just don't like this very depressing atmosphere. Gojo Satoru smiled with disdain. Right, that's right. The three of them then walked towards the high school with relaxed expressions. On the way back to the high school, the three of them looked at the three roads in front of them. They all instinctively want to follow the path of their own choosing. The three of them looked at each other. Let's go, the three of them said at the same time. Then the three of them chose their own path. Gojo Satoru went to the far left path, and Shayuji went to the far right path. Pluto goes in the middle direction. The road Gojo Satoru chose was a route full of lights and unusually winding roads, the road chosen by most people. Shayuji walked towards the shortest road without any lights, although it was muddy. A path only some people would take if they are anxious. Ming walked towards a road with no lights and even fog in front of him. Although it was flat, he didn't know how far it was. About half an hour later, the three of them met at the entrance of the high school. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. No matter what, it is enough that the three of them have the same purpose. Go back. The three of them touched their fists together with happy smiles on their faces. Back in the room, the three of them returned to their respective dormitories, lay on the bed and began to think about their future. Ming thought for a while, stood up, and walked out of the room. Started walking aimlessly in Gaozuan. Good evening, senior. A plain voice sounded. Ming hesitated and didn't pay attention. He followed the source of the voice and looked at Nanami Kento, who was reading a book at this time. It's Nanami, why don't you rest yet? Ming looked at his valued junior with gentleness. Senior, isn't it the same? I don't think Gojo-senpai and Natsumi-senpai can sleep either. Maybe, Ming said ambiguously. Senior, I have something to ask you. Tell me, in your eyes, what exactly is a Jujutsu master? Number 7 looked at Ming seriously. Jujutsu master. It seems that little Nanami is also confused sometimes. Ming did not reply but looked at Nanami curiously. Senior is not the same. When I first met him, I felt that he is a person who knows what he is doing and what he wants. But now, the same is true for senior. Nanami Kento said. Yeah, I thought I was like that, but some things are not up to us, right? But little Nanami wants to ask what a Jujutsu master is. Then my understanding is that to me, a Jujutsu master is just an ordinary profession that I can no longer be ordinary. But for you, including Wu, it is a kind of bondage. Ming said lightly. Is it possible that someone as strong as Gojo Satoru-senpai can't break free? Yes, Satoru is from the Gojo family. He also has things that he must protect and the responsibility of being the strongest. Because he is the person chosen by this era, even Satoru cannot escape. Ming said. Then how to break free, those who were hurt by the cursed spirit, and why we have to carry out such a dangerous mission, I don't understand. Looking at the people who were killed by the cursed spirit, and those who died with despair, what are the eyes, and even the resentful eyes for? Nanami seemed to recall some bad scenes, and her face was no longer so calm. Little Nanami, if you want to break free, you have to go through the barriers in your own heart. Listen to me. No matter you, or even me, we are only human beings, and we cannot save everyone. Therefore, we only need to try our best to save the people we can, and do not blame anyone, nor you, for the people we cannot save. As long as you are worthy of your own heart, and you try your best to save her, then you will be worthy of your heart. Ming said patiently as he looked at the back he valued and fell into himself. If I were as powerful as Senior Ming, wouldn't there be more people? Nanami looked at Ming and said. Maybe, but you have to know, little Nanami, you don't need to think so much now. People living in this world are selfish, so now you are not saving others, but saving yourself, the people you cherish. Do you understand? Only when you are redeemed can you be worthy of saving others. Ming's eyes were full of seriousness. After hearing this, Nanami Kento's eyes were no longer confused and he bowed deeply to Ming. Thank you, Senior, for your teaching. Nanami understands, Nanami said respectfully. Go, little Nanami, sometimes you have to learn from that boy Haibara Yu. Suo Ming turned around and returned to his room. After saying these words, Ming also understood his own path. But Ming didn't know what to do. Time passes in a hurry, and a year passes in the blink of an eye. The former strongest trio also separated. Each pursues his own path. This summer, there were many neon natural disasters, cursed spirits kept coming out like maggots, and there were more tasks. It took a long time for the three of them to meet each other. Although they are separated, the reputation of the three people is growing. Even if they are separated, the three of them are still the strongest. Together they are invincible, but apart they are each powerful. But the most famous of the three is Gojo Satoru. Because of his powerful strength, he is already recognized as the strongest in the jujutsu world. Ming-Z rarely performs tasks, but every time he performs special tasks. Even Sha Yuji's reputation is much greater than that of Ming. At this time, in a mysterious space, a figure stood there, the blood-red blood moon and the boy's purple eyes glowing with mysterious light. The surroundings were covered in blood, and behind the boy there was a magic circle that looked like a six-pointed star. Is this my field? I see. It seems that as long as you understand the structure of the spell and then use the characteristics of the spell, you can expand the field. Understanding the principle is not enough. Then his eyes narrowed, the surroundings instantly returned to their original appearance. The moment he pulled away the realm, Ming discovered something interesting. Interesting, I think even that guy Wu can't do this. Ming's eyes flashed with satisfaction. The appointed time is coming soon. It seems I need to contact her. Ming's figure slowly twisted and finally disappeared from the place. On the other side, Sha Yuji from Jujutsu High School was taking a shower. Sha Yuji's face was full of struggle and distortion, and his eyes were even more tired than before. He muttered, "Disgusting, stinky monkey." At this time, he had already become numb after repeatedly pulling out and devouring the cursed spirit countless times, and his heart was already riddled with holes. He knows the taste of cursed spirit better than anyone. It's as disgusting as a stinky rag used to wipe vomit. He didn't understand who he was doing this for. He clearly decided to protect the weak, but when he thought of those pedantic senior officials and those ugly and disgusting faces, he felt nauseated. Every night he told himself that he must stick to his ideals and his duties as a magician, but when he thought of those people who applauded and smiled because of the success of Tianyuan's assimilation, and the death of a girl like Tanuchi Riko, he began to waver again, over and over again, and he had no answer. And the words he said when Fushiguro stepped on him rang in his mind. Sha Yuji's eyes flashed with a cruel, stinky monkey look. Sha Yuji walked out of the bathroom after taking a shower and changed his clothes. Senior Sha Yu, Haiyuan Shang looked at Sha Yuji and greeted him enthusiastically. Haiyuan, thank you for your hard work. Haiyuan stood up straight and politely. Oh, do you want something to drink? Sha Yuji asked. Oh, I'm sorry, I want to drink Coke. Haiyuan said with a silly smile. Then the two sat on chairs and started chatting. I have to go on a mission tomorrow and go to a faraway place. Really? Then please bring back some souvenirs. What flavor of specialty do you like, senior? Is it salty or sweet? Haibara asked happily. I don't think I'll want to eat it either, Wu. Let's just buy some desserts. If it's Ming, it's still salty, so I'll trouble you to buy some. Sha Yuji said gently and calmly. I see. Sha Yuji asked some more questions about the jujutsu masters he was related to. Although Sha Yuji's face was tired after hearing the answers, he still showed a gentle smile when he saw Haihara Shang's cheerful look. Every time he chats with Haihara Shang, his mood gets much better. Because of his carefree personality, Sha Yuji can feel the meaning of life. However, while the two were chatting, a blonde beauty suddenly appeared in front of them. Long time no see, Mr. Sha Yu. What type of woman do you like? Don't ask questions like this every time, and Ming is not in a college. Sha Yuji said speechlessly. I like girls who eat a lot. At this time, Haihara Shu said loudly while sitting upright. Oh, Wei Yuan. Sha Yuji looked at Wei Yuan, who answered the question honestly and was speechless. What, senior? Yeah, it's nothing. Sha Yuji recovered and no longer looked at Haiyuan, a simple fool. Senior, I'll take my leave now that I have something else to do. After looking at the time on his phone, Haibara ran away in a hurry. Ha, you are really energetic. Kuju Yuki nodded with satisfaction to Haibara, he is a frank guy. On the contrary, I think that as a magician, you should learn how to doubt others. Sha Yuji expressed his opinion with his arms crossed. By the way, it's the second time we've met, Shiyu-kun, won't you answer my question? Juju Yuki said. No, before that you should answer my question first. Miss Juju, why are you here at the high school? I think you should know Ming's whereabouts better than me. Sha Yuji asked with a look of disgust. Road. Hey, what's your expression? It's the same as that guy Ming. I'm here to find Gojo Satoru this time, not Ming, Juju complained. Yeah, Ming and I have different opinions. He is obviously a super magician, but he doesn't accept the mission at all and is a waste doing nothing abroad. Sha Yuji complained. Huh, it's true. You won't survive at all if you talk. No wonder they are close friends. I hate high schools the most, he said as he lay down on the chair and his style changed. It's getting awkward. No, I'm kidding. The reason why I do this is just that my policy is different from that of the college. What people here are doing is only symptomatic treatment, while I advocate treating the cause to find the root cause. Hearing this, Sha Yuji's face flashed with excitement. Treatment for the cause. It's not about hunting cursed spirit, it's about creating a world without cursed spirit. Sha Yuji then looked at Juju Yuji in surprise, his face full of surprise and disbelief. He felt like he had found the answer he wanted right away. Let me teach you a lesson. Juju Yuki then expressed his thoughts, mainly starting from the root of the birth of cursed spirit. There are two specific plans. 1. Eliminate all curses in the world. The specific person he was referring to was the name Sha Yuji least wanted to hear, Fuhei Shir. 2. The second type allows humans to learn to control the power of magic, and then everyone becomes a warlock. He also stated the feasibility of the two options, and Sha Yuji also thought of a third option. Kill all non-magicians, Sha Yuji said calmly. For the first time, he said what he was thinking. Sha Yujun, this method works. Wait a minute, Sha Yuji regained his clarity instantly. Rather than saying it's feasible, it's better to say it's the easiest way. Just like nature, the fittest survive. Of course I'm not that crazy, Juju frowned and thought. Do you hate non-magicians? 99 Yuki asked. Sha Yuji did not hide anything and spoke out his thoughts. Who is it? Shoko. No, it's that kid from Hyuan. Ming frowned without any hesitation. Impressed by his power, the figure instantly disappeared into the room. On the other end, in a dilapidated temple, two figures were in a mess, with wounds on their bodies still oozing blood, and their faces were covered with green-black blood. At this point they face a giant cursed spirit. Cursed spirit is more than 10 meters tall. Nana Ming, you go first, leave this place to me. At this time, the member still said with a smile on his face. Although there was fear in his eyes, he was extremely determined. Shut up, Haibara has already reached this point, and you still say such things. We must join forces to defeat him. Nanami Kento stared at the cursed spirit in front of him seriously and calmly analyzed in his heart, the intelligence is wrong. I didn't expect it to be a level 1 cursed spirit, we can't go on like this. Haibara, I'll attract attention, and you can give him the opportunity to hit him hard. Nanami Kento suggested. Nana Ming, I'll attract his attention and you go attack. Only you can do it at this time. Ming's words also echoed in Hyuan's mind. No matter how critical it is, you must keep your mind clear. Nanami frowned and didn't say anything else. He knew that this was still a good idea. His 10-stroke spell could hurt this cursed spirit. Hyuan did not hesitate, mobilized the magic power to activate comfort, added all attributes to the speed, and quickly ran towards the cursed spirit. The cursed tool in his hand stabbed towards the huge cursed spirit. Cursed spirit's huge arm swatted at Haibara, and Haibara was forced to dodge. With his speed, Haibara evaded all attacks. Just when cursed spirit focused all its attention on Hyuan, Nanami took out the cursed tool in his hand. 10 strokes of curse was slashed with one knife, and cursed spirit's body instantly fell to the ground. Although cursed spirit was injured, it did not cause fatal damage. Cursed spirit stood up and roared. Such terrifying defense and power. Is this the first level cursed spirit? Nanami Kento's eyes widened. At this time, cursed spirit focused on Nanami and began to attack. Nanami immediately dodges upon seeing this. Cursed spirit looked at the slippery Nanami and became angry again. He stamped his foot on the ground and many spikes sprouted from the ground. Nanami reacted immediately, but was still replaced with his right arm. At this time, Hyuan immediately jumped up, mobilized the power of the curse, clenched his fist, and punched cursed spirit's body. Cursed spirit turned around and struck out with a big hand, sending Hyuan flying. Haibara, Nanami Kento shouted anxiously. And he cannot protect himself. Seeing that he could no longer move his right arm, Nanami looked a little desperate. I couldn't help but curse the supervisors in my heart. This land god was obviously a first-level cursed spirit, but he only said it was a second level. And also has the ability to control the land. High defense and strong attack. The cursed spirit ignored Haibara and felt pain because of Nanami. Being not so smart, it naturally regarded Nanami as the first target of attack. I saw the cursed spirit roaring, the ruined temple instantly began to collapse, and many earth thorns sprouted from the ground. Nanami used her left hand to hold the sword and cut off the earth thorn. But after all, his left hand is not his dominant hand, so the power is much sharper, and there are more and more thrusts. Moreover, cursed spirit has controlled many boulders to fly towards him, and he can no longer avoid them. Is this the end? I'm really not willing to give in. Senior Ming has let you down. Nanami said bitterly. Be careful, Nana Ming. Haiyuan shouted loudly. Then he quickly ran towards Nanami Kento and pushed him out of the attack range of cursed spirit. Haibara, you idiot, Nanami Kento shouted with an angry temper. Haibara looked at the angry Nanami with a relieved smile in his eyes. It was a lie that he was not afraid of the attack in front of him, but it was just like what he said to Sha Yuji, try your best and do what you can. I'm sorry, Senior Sha Yu, it seems I can't bring you souvenirs. He looked at the attack coming towards him. A special power arose in his mind, but Haihara Shang was not aware of it due to his strength. Success this time. Nanami suppressed his emotions and calmly mobilized the power of the spell. Black flash, Nanami quickly rushed towards Cursed Spirit, shooting out with black and red lightning. Cursed Spirit was knocked away, but Cursed Spirit's attack was still unable to be stopped. Looking at the gray field in front of him, Nanami's eyes widened. When all the attacks came to Haiyuan, Haiyuan's right eye turned into a blood-red eye, and the attacks passed through Haiyuan's body. Haibara looked at the body that was not free of pain, and then looked at Nanami, confused. Am I already dead? Nanami said with a cute look on her face. Nanami looked into Haiyuan's eyes and recalled the gifts Ming Shuo gave them, as well as the expressions on Sha Yuji's and the others' faces. Is it Senior Ming? Nanami suddenly said with wide eyes. And at this moment, a voice sounded. That's good. Little Nanami can actually play Black Flash at such a critical moment. Little Haibara is also very good, but you should be more careful next time. A gentle voice sounded. Senior Ming. Nanami and Haibara looked at the source of the sound at the same time. I didn't know when a figure appeared, with a gentle smile on his face. Long time no see, Ming said to the two people. Wait a minute, I'm not dead. That was the ability of the senior just now. Only then did Haiyuanshang react, and then he remembered the gift Ming gave the two of them. Thank you, Senior. Haiyuanshang stood up straight and bowed deeply to Ming. Ming's waved his hand carelessly. It turns out to be a quasi-special grade cursed spirit. It seems there is something wrong with this mission. Ming said calmly. Yes, Senior. We originally thought it was an ordinary second-level cursed spirit. At most, there is only a first-level cursed spirit. Unexpectedly, Nanami said angrily. It doesn't matter, it's okay to meet little Nanami and little Weiyuan. Remember the lesson of this time and work hard to become stronger, so that you won't have any regrets. Ming said lightly. Yes, Senior. Yes, Senior. Okay, please step back. No matter how hard it is for my lovely junior to recover from such a serious injury, as a senior, I still have to stand up for you. Ming said calmly. But Senior. Shut up, idiot. Nanami immediately stopped Haiyuan. Haiyuan looked at Nanami's serious expression and walked over helplessly. The two retreated far away. Alright, ugly guy, the second round has begun. Ming looked coldly at Cursed Spirit who had already walked over. Cursed Spirit looked at Ming, greed flashing in his eyes. After all, if such a curse swallowed him, he would become stronger. The big hand waved towards Ming. Ming jumped up from the spot, dodged the big hand, and punched out. The terrifying power instantly turned Cursed Spirit's entire arm into blood mist. Cursed Spirit roared in pain. Ming ignored it and punched out again, causing the Cursed Spirit to fly backwards instantly. The moment it flew out, Cursed Spirit activated the spell, and sharp spikes of earth sprouted from the ground. With a sneer on Ming's face, a Susanoo appeared with a knife in his big hand and slashed around. Mei summoned Susanoo's big hand to chop away the surrounding earth thorns. Then slowly walked towards the Cursed Spirit, the land god. Fear flashed in Cursed Spirit's eyes. The huge body couldn't help but step back. Are you afraid? Can Cursed Spirit also feel fear? He is so weak, he can't even dance. Disappointment flashed in Ming's eyes. Then a black list appeared in his hand, and he threw it towards Cursed Spirit. Cursed Spirit was instantly nailed to the ground without any chance to resist. So strong. Haiyuan looked at Ming with admiration. It was too strong, and their helpless Cursed Spirit was defeated by Ming using only physical skills. Nanami Kento looked calm, but he was also shocked by Ming's physical skills. His black flash couldn't even hit Ming's ordinary punch. Is this a monster? Is this the weight of a special level Jujutsu master? No, this is the terror of Ming Senpai. Nanami Kento doesn't think that anyone can defeat the ordinary level Cursed Spirit with taijutsu, except of course Gojo Satoru. Senior, why don't you remove him? Cursed Spirit looked at Cursed Spirit as he came over and did not kill him. He looked puzzled. Keep it for now, there is one thing that needs to be verified. Ming said calmly. Then, I'll leave the rest to you. Say hello to Wu and Jia for me. I'll go back after a while when I finish my work. Ming said with a smile on his face. Thank you for your hard work, Senior. By the way, Senior Xiao asked me to bring you souvenirs. Haiyuan Shang said excitedly. Oh, that guy Jia is really gentle. Okay, I understand. I accept your wishes. You can practice hard after you finish your tasks. I think you will have to improve your strength with Wu and Jia here. It will be a lot more convenient. Ming said lightly. Senior, do your words still count? Nanami said at this time. Ming looked at Nanami who was speaking in confusion with some confusion. That is, when I am strong enough you will recommend me as a first-level magician. Nanami said seriously. Of course, but you still have a long way to go. Ming said calmly. Senior, I won't let you down. Nanami Kento said, while Wei Principal remained silent. He wanted Sha Yuji to recommend him to become a first-level magician. Because compared to Gojo Satoru, who has been favored by heaven since birth, Sha Yuji, a genius who is a commoner, is obviously the person Haibara Yu admires the most. In Haiyuan's eyes, Ming is similar to Gojo Satoru. Although he also respects Ming and Gojo Satoru, he admires Sha Yuji the most. And you, Xiao Weiyuan, when you are strong enough, I will let Jia recommend you. Ming said calmly. Naturally you can see Haiyuan Shang's little thoughts. Thank you, Senior. Haihara Shang scratched his head and smiled sheepishly. Goodbye then. After Ming finished speaking, he still groaned and twisted, and finally disappeared from the eyes of the two of them. And the Cursed Spirit in front of me was also taken away. After Ming left, the person from the window also came here and was scolded by Nanami. Haihara Yu was also shocked when he saw Nanami who was so uncool. And Nanami ignored Haibara all the way back, obviously resenting Haibara for pushing her away and getting hurt. Haibara also apologized all the way, which made Nanami forgive him slightly. This is not Nanami's pretentiousness. Haibara is like a close friend to him. He doesn't know if he can forgive himself after Haibara dies for him. He didn't want his best friend to die before him. After a day, the two finally rushed back to the college. Haibara found Sha Yuji excitedly, while Nanami dragged her exhausted body back to the dormitory. I'm back. How's it going? Sha Yuji looked at Haiyuan with a gentle smile. Senior Xiao, it didn't go very well. I almost got killed. If Senior Ming hadn't suddenly appeared, I would have died. Haihara Shang scratched his head in embarrassment. Then he explained to Sha Yuji the danger at that time. Oh, really? Did Ming take action? Sha Yuji was not surprised. After all, he and Gojo Satoru were also present when Ming sealed the eyes of the two of them, so they naturally knew about it. But when he heard that Haihara Shang was going to die, he couldn't help but clench his fists. But this scene was hidden by him. Yes, Senior Ming is very powerful. He solved the Cursed Spirit in just a few seconds. But Senior Ming took the Cursed Spirit away. Don't you know what he wanted to do? Haiyuan asked a little puzzled. Sha Yuji was also a little curious and couldn't figure out what Ming was going to do. However, he didn't think much about it. Through Wei Yuan's description, Sha Yuji also knew that the Cursed Spirit only barely reached the threshold of the quasi-special grade Cursed Spirit. If he needs to call Ming at that time, Ming will not refuse. But he was not interested in the Cursed Spirit. Forget it, I don't understand that guy either. Who knows what he is going to do? Maybe try a new eye technique. Sha Yuji knew that Ming had other eye skills that he had not yet demonstrated. Well, Senior Shiyu, I'm going to see that Nanami guy. This is your souvenir. I'll leave first. Haibara held a bag. Go. Sha Yuji nodded and took the bag. After Wei Yuan left, Sha Yuji stared at Hai Yuan's back and murmured, what if the marathon race called the technique ends with mountains of corpses of friends? And those, even if it is eliminated, it cannot be eradicated. There is no limit to human greed and fear. Just when Sha Yuji was lost in thought, Sha Yuji's phone rang. Hello, this is Mr. Sha Yuji. The thing is like this. In a remote mountainous area, a case occurred. Is it difficult? Sha Yuji said coldly, obviously hating those people. Yes. Yes, Mr. Sha Yuji. The superiors have assigned you to complete the task. The other end said nervously. I know. Sha Yuji hung up the phone and muttered, smelly monkey. At this moment, a figure quickly came to Sha Yuji's side and hooked his shoulder. Hey, Jay, why are you getting worse and losing so much weight? A cynical voice said. Yeah, maybe he's sick. Sha Yuji's expression did not change, then he took out the bag next to him and stood up. Woo, I'll give you some souvenirs. I'll have a mission later, so I won't chat with you anymore. See you later, Sha Yuji said coldly. Really, it's really cold. Gojo Satoru complained, then opened it, and a sweet smell appeared. Gojo Satoru laughed instantly, picked up one and ate it. Speaking of which, it's true. I don't know what that Ming is doing, and I have no contact with him at all. That guy, I've also got some clues in my field recently. I guess I can conquer it in a while. Really, congratulations to you, Woo, Sha Yuji echoed after hearing this. Then left the place. Really, every one of them is mysterious. Gojo Satoru continued to eat the dessert in his hand. It's delicious. I have to ask Gia where he bought it. That's what happened. According to the investigation, it's Sha Yuji himself. Hey, are you listening? Mei Mei said to the other end of the phone, her tone unusually serious. I'm sorry, Miss Mei Mei, our cooperation needs to be postponed for a while, the voice on the other end said, with a tone of suppressed disbelief. Okay. Before Mei Mei could finish her words, the other party hung up on the phone. To be precise, the phone on the other party exploded. How could it be possible? Jay, that guy would actually do such a crazy thing. Ming looked in disbelief. He knew Sha Yuji too well. He was a person who protected the weak to his core. Why would he do such a thing? On the other end, equally unbelievable is Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru looked confused after listening to what Yaga Masamiki said. His brain felt like it was shutting down now. There was no reaction for a moment. He wanted to see it as a joke on Yaga Masamiki's face. Don't make me repeat it several times. Jay, he killed Jay and killed everyone in the village. Yaga Masamiki said calmly, but he was also in disbelief in his heart. Even after seeing this information, he didn't know that he was brave enough. How much courage do you need to tell Gojo Satoru again? I heard it clearly, that's why I replied, what, to you? Gojo Satoru said impatiently. Jay's hometown has been deserted, but judging from the bloodstains and residual spell power, his parents were also. Yaga Masamiki was also a little depressed, but was interrupted by Gojo Satoru, absolutely impossible. Quote. Gojo Satoru roared loudly. Satoru, I don't understand what happened. Yaga Masamiki's eyes flashed with pain. He covered his forehead with his hands and closed his eyes tightly. He doesn't believe it either, but the evidence is there. Who can lay out the crime scene, and who dares to attack Sha Yuji? He once again acted so weak in front of his students. Seeing himself like this all the time, Gojo Satoru clenched his fists, which were so strong that they even bled. Satoru, don't embarrass me, you are embarrassing the teacher. A calm voice sounded. Ming, why, tell me, why did Gia do such a thing? Could it be that what he said before about protecting the weak was a lie? What is that guy doing? Gojo Satoru heard Ming's voice and immediately turned around to look to him. I spoke out what I had just been holding in my heart. He knew that the only one who could understand his inner thoughts was the Ming in front of him. Satoru, calm down. No matter what, we still have to ask him face to face. Ming was also helpless. Ming, who had just received the news, was the same as Gojo Satoru, but he knew that Gia had been very abnormal during this period. Then what are you waiting for? Go and find him. Gojo Satoru shouted. Be quiet, you guy. You told me to calm down. And if I can be found, will I go back to the high school? Hearing Gojo Satoru's question, the suppressed anger was ignited again. What's going on? Don't you have a pupil technique in Jay's place? Gojo Satoru said without any rush. He was driven away by Jia, and now I can't lock his position. Mingyi said in despair. Gojo Satoru punched the building next to him, and the surrounding buildings collapsed instantly. Calm down, idiot. Ming looked at the angry Gojo Satoru and shouted coldly. How can you tell me to calm down? Gojo Satoru looked at Ming with wide eyes. Shut up, Ming said without any nonsense, and punched Gojo Satoru in the abdomen. Gojo Satoru's body flew backwards instantly. Smash into the ruins just now. You guy. Gojo Satoru also rushed towards Ming with an angry face. Haven't you calmed down yet, Satoru? Ming Lengleng said coldly with his Sharingan and glanced at Gojo Satoru, who was coming over, with a faint coldness flashing in his eyes. Gojo Satoru looked at Ming, his body froze, and a look of astonishment appeared on his face. Then he clenched his fists and stopped taking action. He knew that he had lost his sense of proportion. Ming looked at Satoru who had recovered, and looked at Yaga Masamiki again. Teacher, is there any news about Jay now? Looking at Gojo Satoru who was gradually getting colder, Yaga Masamiki also breathed a sigh of relief. If the two of them had not restrained their attacks, the barrier here would have been shattered, and things would have been bad. No, his whereabouts have not been traced by the higher authorities. Yaga Masamiki said. At this moment, Gojo Satoru's cell phone rang. Seeing that it was Shoko's phone, Gojo Satoru took out his phone. Line connected. Hey, is it Gojo? What's wrong, Shoko? Gojo Satoru said impatiently. Shiyu is here with me, come here. Shoko said calmly on the other end. What, Shoko? Gojo Satoru's eyes suddenly lit up and his tone became anxious. Ming grabbed the phone at this time. Tell me the location, Shoko, Mingyi said anxiously. Shinjuku, it's Ming, I was calling you. Before Shoko could finish speaking, the call had been hung up. When Gojo Satoru and Mei heard the news, they instantly began to teleport. Really, I haven't finished speaking yet. Shoko looked at the phone helplessly. Ming, are you here? Shayuji looked at the crowd in front of him. Yeah, those guys probably want to take you back. Shoko joked. That's really troublesome, Shayuji said without any worry. At this time, the dark circles under his eyes had disappeared. It was obvious that he was no longer as confused as he was during that time. Is this really okay? You might become enemies with Wu and Ming at the same time. Shoko looked at Shayuji and said. It doesn't matter, that kind of life is too painful for me. Looking at those annoying monkeys, I can no longer face them like before. Shayuji said. Do you want to walk for a while? Shayuji asked. I don't want it, Shoko refused. It's okay, that guy Ming won't mind. Shayuji said with a gentle smile. Shut up, I'm just afraid of being killed by you. Shoko turned and left. Shayuji looked at Shoko walking away. We might be enemies next time we meet. Shayuji said calmly. He also turned around and left. Walking on the street, Shayuji saw the monkeys he hated laughing, and he could no longer turn a blind eye. Why should I protect you stinky monkeys? You are obviously the source of the crime. My world will not allow monkeys to appear. Shayuji thought to himself. Explain yourself, Jay. Shayuji, who was walking, suddenly looked up and knew that Gojo Satoru was coming. There's nothing to say, Satoru. You should listen to Shoko. I want to create a world without cursed spirit. A world with only Jujutsu style. Shayuji said without any hesitation. Why even parents? You can't give special treatment just because you are your parents. I'm not asking you this. Didn't you say you want to protect the weak? That's the Shayuji from before. I did this for my own purpose and meaning. Your so-called world with only Jujutsu masters will never come true. There is no point in doing such a petty thing that will never come true. Gojo Satoru shouted loudly. How arrogant. What would you do if it were you, and what would Ming do if it were Ming? You can obviously do it easily, but you say that this kind of thing can't be achieved. Shayuji said in a low voice. Whether you are good or not, you all possess innate power far beyond ordinary people. Unlike me, You are born strong. Shayuji turned around and looked at Gojo Satoru. Because you are Gojo Satoru. Are you the strongest, or are you Gojo Satoru because you are the strongest? What on earth do you mean, Jay? Gojo Satoru looked confused. If I were you, I wouldn't think that this kind of thing is a ridiculous ideal. Maybe it could be realized. I have already thought about my lifestyle. Now I just finish what I can do. At this point, Shayuji's mind, the appearance of that kid from Hyuan could be heard. After saying that, Shayuji turned and left. Gojo Satoru instinctively wanted to activate Void Style. But he has been reluctant to take action, not because there are civilians around, but because he can't take action against this close friend. If you want to kill, just kill. That makes sense, Shayuji's voice rang out from the crowd. But Gojo Satoru didn't make a move and just watched Shayuji disappear into the crowd. Are you coming to persuade me too? Shayuji came to the corner and said calmly. There was nothing in front of him, but he knew Ming was here. Ah, forget it, judging from your current mental state, I don't think it's necessary. Compared with your half-dead look, you are no longer confused, right? Shayuji's figure suddenly appeared. In front of you. Are you really not trying to persuade me? If it's Ming, maybe I will give up the secret and turn to the light. Shayuji said with a relaxed smile. Stop joking, if you really did that, you wouldn't be Shayuji, you stubborn guy. Ming rolled his eyes. Yeah, let's go and stay with me for a while. That guy Satoru couldn't even talk properly when he first came up. Shayuji complained about Gojo Satoru as before. That's right, that guy is just like a child. Gojo Satoru, who had started meditating in the morning, was helpless. The two came to a coffee shop and ordered a cup of coffee, but Shayuji did not order it. Jia, you're not afraid of Wu suddenly taking action? Ming looked at Shayuji and said. No, that guy won't do anything to us. But that won't happen in the future. Ming, do you want to help me? If I have you, the world I want will definitely be completed. Shayuji said with a faint smile. You're cheating, right? Ming rolled his eyes. There is no other way. Although I know you will refuse, I still want to give it a try. After all, if you can stand with me, I will have the capital to fight Wu. Shayuji said with a pity on his face. I have my chosen path. Ming said calmly. Okay, but I have a question. I want to ask you, who is stronger, you or Wu? Shayuji asked seriously. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how strong I am now, but I think I will win. Ming said with confidence. Shayuji said nothing, with a smile on his face, because he wouldn't be surprised whoever wins the battle between the two. After drinking the coffee, Ming stood up. Forget it, that's it for today. I'm going to go back and check on Satoru. That guy really hates being the nanny for you quarrelsome little devils. You guys are just as vicious as Wu said. Shayuji's face was gloomy. Stop talking, you are already acting like a villain. Get rid of your obscene bangs quickly. Ming Yi complained. After saying that, he disappeared from Shayuji's eyes. Shayuji looked at the place where Ming disappeared and thought of the days when he first entered the high school, and clips from post-secondary studies. Villain, Shayuji murmured. At this time, the sun was setting, and as the sun set, one step up the stairs, Gojo Satoru sat down on the ground depressedly. Then Yaga Masamiki came over. Why don't you catch up? Yaga Masamiki asked. Are you sure you still want me to say it? Gojo Satoru said calmly. No, forget it, it's my fault, Yaga Masamiki said. Teacher, I am very strong. Yes, very strong, arrogantly strong. But it seems useless if I am only strong. I can save only those who are ready to be saved. Gojo Satoru said. Yaga Masamiki said nothing because he said that his opinions would affect Gojo Satoru's path. This path must be found by himself. Gojo Satoru thought about it, then stood up immediately. As if he had figured it out. You finally figured it out, Satoru. TCH, don't talk like a senior. You really make Nikai Ren feel uncomfortable, Ming. Gojo Satoru and Yaga Masamiki looked at Ming coming from the bottom of the stairs. You're here, Ming. Have you met Jia? Yes, teacher. I've seen him. He's in good condition. Don't worry, teacher. Jia asked me to say hello to you, Ming said calmly. Oh, it's my fault. Yaga Masamiki looked at the blackened Shayuji and blamed himself the most. Teacher, You are not wrong, and Jia is not wrong either. It's just the path you chose. It's not right or wrong. Ming's was very relaxed and open-minded. That's right, maybe I got it first. You're not going to rebel. You were instigated by Jia. Gojo Satoru looked at Ming unhappily. TCH, so what? Ming said with disdain. What? It's too despicable, but only if you work together can you have a chance of winning. Gojo Satoru said with a proud look on his face. To deal with you, we still need to join forces, you guy. Forget it, it seems that you are in good condition. I won't persuade you anymore. Ming said lightly. I came here just to say one thing, that is, we have all chosen our own paths, so let's meet at the end. Only then can we know who is right and who is wrong, right? Ming said lightly. That's true. I'm really looking forward to that day. Gojo Satoru looked at Ming with confidence flashing in his eyes. Ming disappeared with a smile on his face. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.